Hello, people, and welcome to Spurs Kings TV. It is Tuesday. You know what time it is. It is time for Ashmatic Analysis. Ash, you well?
Yes, my broski, I'm here. I'm alive. We're live and direct, man. Big up to yourself once again. Big up to the chat. People watching at home on their TV screens. Make sure you do hit us a like. Does help us get out there, of course. But yeah, man, I'm blessed, man. A little headache, of course. The lights are booming right here. It's kind of booming. I'm moving mad, to be fair. But yeah, no, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good. Considering all things, but I'm good. I'm good.
Look, we've got quite a few to get through tonight. Let's got the game to get through. Probably got the protest to get through. But let's get into things. Let's bring out the panel first. Let's bring out everyone knows him from YouTube. He's a big star. He loves taking pictures with people, especially when he's at the stadium. But let's have a big welcome, Shawnee. You good?
What's happening, boys? How you doing?
All good. You well?
Oh, I mean, look, just before that intro started, I went and had a shave, and I've got like the 5 o'clock shadow. That's like the longest intro. It's a cracking intro, banging music. But I've seen intros in my time, but that's a long intro, my guy. Very good. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. It is getting shortened. Look when we first started, what it was.
Don't shorten it, bro. Double down. Make it long. Make it 10 minutes. Let's do it. Let's see what we're doing.
Well, Hassan and Ash used to complain about it all the time, and why is it so long? And I said, just give it 5 minutes for everyone to join and thing it. They were like, but now we get the subscribers and stuff from viewers. Everyone comes in straight away, so we're like, all right, we can shorten.
Yeah. I hear you. No, it's good. It's a banging tune, though. I like it.
But let's get to the debutants. Joining us tonight. First of all, I want to welcome Hotspur Cave, known as Jay. Jay, you well?
All good, man. All good. How we doing, everyone? How we doing?
All good.
All good.
All
you can
good.
hear
Good
us
to
this
see
week,
you,
yeah?
man. Finally, we got you on now.
Yeah, it's working. No malfunctions this week. No malfunctions, but it's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me as always, man.
No problem at all.
Another man with some wild colouring in the background going on. What's going on? You guys, is this the new thing? Is this the new thing that I need to get on board? Oh my god!
Amazon, Sean, man. Just get on Amazon. Just
I
start
gotta get
putting them around your room. Get your colours in, man.
Yeah. So they're bringing a strobe, give everyone an epileptic fit. You know what I mean?
And then another guy making his debut tonight as well. We reached out on X and said, come on, we need some people. We need some new people to come on. And this was a guy that hit us up. So we want to make a good welcome tonight of Luke, are you well?
I'm all good. Thank you very much. Thanks for allowing me to come on.
No worries at all.
I'm letting the side down. I didn't get a memo about the lights, but
me neither.
All three of us.
When I knew Jay was on, I should have put the lights up. But yeah, do you know what? Let's get straight into it. Obviously, look, Ash, we had a massive game against United. It was probably the game of the two teams off form, not having the best season of their life. And then we get the news Friday and Saturday that Man United have been hit by illness and injuries.
Damn, son.
Out of all the clubs they could have had that against us, we're not going to feel sorry for them, are we?
Nah, not at all. Because if it was us, nobody cares, man. Nobody cares.
It was us. It is us. It is us. all these neutral fans going, Man United, poor Man United, been hit by injury crisis. Where was your sympathy for us for the last 3 months? No, injuries happen, bro. Roll with it. Okay. Keep that same energy then.
Exactly. It's not on my side, bro. I'll be honest with you. So yeah, man.
So, what did you make of the game overall? Obviously, Spurs. Yeah. It was a bit. It wasn't the greatest game to watch, especially if you were a neutral. But as a Spurs fan, obviously we got the victory, so we're all good. But was there any signs in that game where you thought going forward we saw some positives?
You know what? I'll be real. And look, football's about opinion. And the first, I'd say, 15 minutes, other than them getting their first proper chance, I think they had the first chance. But I thought the first 15 to 20 minutes, we were moving the ball around. We had a lot of energy. And like normally it's stop-start with Spurs. And I felt like possession-wise, we looked after it a lot better. However, we did allow them into the game. And then I think that's when they got confidence. And I was like, oh man, this Man United team is so piss poor. We should be like ripping them apart. but I just didn't feel like we were creating anything with substance or like opening them up. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Especially when it came into that second half. The second half was abysmal. I know we're going to get into it, but there was a few standouts for me. Obviously, Vicario coming back, that was a massive plus for me. And I thought,
Ash, you wanted to text me there. I told you, innit?
I'm being real. Listen, Vix. Look, it is what it is. Like, we had the young G, he stepped in, he did what he had to do, but then the old guard had to come in, and Vicario, Italiano, you know what I'm saying? He come and did his thing, and I said,
I apologized to him. I apologized.
No, listen.
I apologized to the whole of YouTube. I got it wrong.
No, it's not even that deep, because look, it is what it is. We're in our project at the moment. We've got the young G's at the moment. And so everyone's saying, give them time, even though we don't have time to play with. You know what I'm saying? Just give them time. Memo, what we're doing at the moment. But who knows? Maybe in 2 years, you'll be right. Maybe in a year's time, you'll be right. But yeah, I thought Vicario was making a massive difference. He pulled off some good saves, kept us in it. Yeah. Then we had, obviously, Danso doing what he's done. He's been there 3 games, obviously, now. But I just felt like playing out from the back was a little bit more settled, in my opinion, and I think that's what helped us hold on to the ball a little piece more than usual, in my opinion. Then I thought the 2 standouts were obviously the doggy and Madison. I'm sure we're going to get into it because we know Roy Keane said there's a few comments about Madison, and there's lots of talking points. But also Sonny, the front 3, I don't know, it's a bit I don't know, like it's a bit funky house, a bit like my lights. But yeah, man.
No, they ain't funky, bro.
They're not Roy.
No, they're Kevin Danzo, bro. I'd like to Kevin Danzo, bro. Balling.
No, I'm playing. But yeah, man, it was a bit of a like the way we kind of ended the game. It was a bit like a meow. But yeah, that was my opinion on it. I don't know what you guys thought.
Let me bring Jay in first. Jay, what did you make of the whole game overall? And obviously the fact that Man United had literally one player on the bench who literally had played any Premier League minutes for Manchester United this season.
To be quite frank, as my mum would say, that's their business. That's their business. That's their problem. Do you know what I mean? I've been dealing with this for months. I've been suffering. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Every week, hamstrings, getting. I don't know. I don't know. Innit? I don't really care about their injuries. I thought the game was awful to watch. I'll be honest, especially as like I was there. Terrible watch. But you know what? If we can stink out results while we're still getting our players back, then okay. Listen. I'm not gonna sit here and complain. I didn't expect much. Like you said, Sonny, he's fizzling out. He is fizzling out a little bit, in my opinion. You know, Madison, I mean, all of the talk around Madison, well, we have to be fair with our analysis, and has dropped Madison time and time again. So when everyone says, oh, he needs to step up and whatnot, he isn't even really given a chance to step up because he keeps getting dropped. He scored a brace against City and got dropped the next game. Do you know what I mean? So I was impressed with him. Danso, I didn't know he was so good. I was very skeptical about him at first, but wow. It looks like we've genuinely got a good backup centre-back. Jed Spence, please, my brother, please don't let Ange throw you out of this team. Porro needs to get benched. I don't know if anyone saw it, but there was a point in the game where Porro was pressing Onana. Why is our right back pressing their goalkeeper? Jed Spence, elite, man. What a player, man. What a player. And Vicario, like he said, I think he should get the armband next season because you can just tell when he's there, we have a presence on the pitch. Man. So that's just my overall thoughts in it.
Luke, I'll bring you in next. Like, what did you make of the whole game overall? Like, obviously, Man United had their issues. We've had our own issues, as everyone said. We don't really care about Man United. And as Ange said, put it on a postcard because no one felt sorry for me for the last couple of months.
All I kept hearing was we're making excuses, not reasons, they're excuses. So it's the same, works both ways, doesn't it? I think it was two teams that were 14th and 15th. That was the general play of it. Both teams were fragile. Both teams, you could tell that you could get at them. And I think when we took the lead, I think you then start worrying, when was the last time we kept a clean sheet? So when was the last time we didn't concede goal after goal? So I think it was a little bit out of that playing on their minds. And then it's just get that over the line, get that one out of the way, and then push on. So everyone says that we can't win ugly, the way the tactics play, the way that he plays and everything. Maybe that's another side that we're showing, hopefully.
Shawnee, talk to me. Why was us getting that result quite important, and why at the end of the day do we not care about Man United injuries when we've had the same? And what did it show that in that game that actually you could tell that two sides were hit by an injury crisis?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of it's been said. Like, I couldn't care less. I mean, if you're not, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? Like, injuries are problematic, but they haven't got the same level for the same amount of time. I blame this, not to get off the topic immediately, but Daniel Levy, the notion around, like, he doesn't do enough and everything. You look at the jarring reality that Man United fans, you hear Gary Neville saying, like, this is Man United, it's Man United, right? Like, they always have been able to do whatever they want, and they can't do anything now. They can't do anything. And if they want to do something in the summer to rebuild their team for Amorim, they got to sell 2 or 3 of their best young talent to be able to finance the rebuild into a formation that their squad wasn't set up for. Like, I have no sympathy. I have absolutely no sympathy. You go in a certain direction, you got to chew on the fat that comes with the steak, right? Like, it is what it is. And I think that United are, I don't really care about them, to be honest, mate. Like, I honestly don't care. I don't think they're going down. I think that's a problem as well. I think that the Premier League is boring, not just at the top end, but at the bottom end. I think that the same 3 teams that come up go down. There's really no threat to most people's existence or survival. It's problematic. That's why I spend most of my time talking about the issue with the rules within the game rather than the specifics or the nuances of any particular football team within it. I think that the biggest elephant in the room is make the game more interesting by making the rules a little bit more fair. I'll give the teams at the bottom some support, give the teams at the top some handicaps, right? But in any event, towards the game specifically, I feel like, two rubbish teams. It actually ended up being like quite an interesting game because of the quality was equally bad on both sides at times. What's going on with those changes? You're screwing in my head, man. They've got the lights going on, and now I've got the people jumping around the screen. Like I'm going to have an episode in a minute. But like the game was poor, but it actually made for a fairly kind of interesting game because of equally bad teams. Neither of them could finish their dinner. The one thing I would say, the one positive take, why was it important? I think it was important because we might have to play Manchester United in the Europa League. We maybe do, like the top 2 favourites. How are Tottenham and United the 2 favourites for the Europa League? Is that just because English money goes towards English teams, or is that because it's just the terrible indictment of the standard of the Europa League? I don't know, right? But if we are the 2 favourites on that display, then what's going on around Europe, right? But in terms of why was it important? Yeah, we might have to play them. It's lovely to have the result, three back-to-back wins in this season alone against United. I think it's been like only 4 managers in the history of the Premier League has had their first 4 games undefeated against Man United, and Ange Postecoglou is one of them. So that's cool. I'd also say I think it was backing up the Brentford result. The Brentford result where we kept the clean sheet. Obviously, we lost in the cups, but to have 2 clean sheets, and also I think the most meaningful part of it is when was the last time that Tottenham maintained a lead for 83 minutes of football? Right, you go 1-0 up in the 13th minute, 12th minute, and then you hold on for the 95. Like good things. Now I don't know if that would happen if it was against a team that had any talent up front. But yeah, little micro things you can take from it, boys. Little micro positives. But generally speaking, like I don't think we really learned that much about the team from Sunday because I think that both teams were just equally bad. Just Tottenham was slightly less bad than the other.
Will, welcome.
How we doing? We good?
You good? Welcome back.
I know, thanks for having me. I didn't know who I was coming on with. Oh, it's a pleasure, everyone. It's a pleasure to share the screen with you.
But
Big up,
Big up, Will. Look, we've only just started. We're just talking about the game as a whole. And how did you see things from Sunday?
Well, not to but I can't lie. I'm absolutely blowing. I've like rushed there after football. Yeah, I feel like I played a full season of Ange ball. Genuinely, like my hamstrings season up. Fucking, I'm out of breath.
Your eyes are going to seize up, mate, when you capture onto what these boys are doing with their lights show in the background.
I know, it's keeping me sharp. Well, yeah. I mean, to be honest, boys, like we were all saying, not many positives, but a win's a win. I feel like we're just going game to game at the moment, and in the Premier League, like we're safe, so like we can all sort of take a deep breath. But I mean, I feel like game to game, this is about finding, like you said, Sean, like just micro improvements, 3 points, just trying to get a booster out of anything. And I mean, the major positive for me is like Matisse Tell. We can finally get to see how shit Man United actually are. Like, you know what I mean? Just put that to bed. And you know what? He's starting to sort of come. I mean, I don't.
He now knows his level, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if we're going to get into this. Yeah, I'm actually so relieved that he's not like too good for us. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's so talented. Like, he's got so much potential. But I'm so relieved that he's sort of, you can tell he's raw, so he can sort of like develop with the squad. But yeah, I mean, I think the positives were mainly down to just individual performances, and I know I'm sure we'll get onto him, but I mean, Vicario being back in goal was just like a massive plus. Danso like looks unbelievable. Maddison coming back with like a point to prove and sort of chomping at the bit to like get back involved. I mean, I think that's the thing. We're looking for the positives in such a terrible sort of situation, such a terrible season, and we're going to take these and like sort of run with it into the Ipswich game. But to be honest, it was a bit of an hard watch, wasn't it?
No, agreed. I couldn't agree more. It was a hard watch, but it was one of those in the end, I suppose, as long as we got the 3 points, it didn't matter how. And we kept a clean sheet.
Yeah. No, exactly. No,
so Ash, just to bring you back in, obviously, let's talk about the guy who got the winner, Madison.
Yeah.
What did you make of his performance overall? And was he right to celebrate and make it at Roy Keane?
So Madison's an interesting conversation because there's a lot of people in the fan base that aren't happy with Madison because of the leadership role, because he's been hot and cold, his performances haven't been consistent. Then obviously Roy Keane said, what he said about if you want him to bring the team up, out of a relegation fight, or if you want him to be the leader, he's not really the guy to do it. Then he thinks he's answered the critics by scoring a goal. I personally think it's ironic because if you look at Ange, for me, Ange wants possession-based football. I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's my thinking. And Maddison is the only player that is a possession-based player, if that makes sense. So he's really good at ball retention. He's really good at keeping the ball, passing it, moving it around, dropping the shoulder, linking the play, playing balls in behind, dropping deep, or going higher up, running in behind into the box. So when I say he's a player that can do it all, I look at Madison as some people call it the lock picker. Some people say he's a playmaker. Some people say he's the one that can kind of thread it all together. And I think in that type of system where Ange wants, you need a few Madisons. Am I making sense? Because we've got too many players that play vertically, meaning they want to run in straight lines or they want to carry the ball. And that's the only asset they have. Whereas Madison can get on the ball and he can dictate play from deep. He can dictate plays from wide. He can drop into pockets where he's higher up the pitch. And then he can also score goals as well. So I think for Ange Ball, in my opinion, to work, you need a few players that have Madison's qualities. Now, Kulusevski has been getting a nod over him because of his physicality and his ability to, drive with that ball. And I think that's the type of player Ange likes. And I think that's why Maddison's been dropped quite a lot of the times. He thinks that maybe he's too fragile, and Kulusevski fits the mold of what he wants. But it's interesting. I think Maddison needs to be given more time. I know they're trying to protect him by taking him off early, but in my opinion, Maddison needs to be on that pitch. And I thought he had a real top performance on Sunday. He was one of our better players, in my opinion.
Luke, I want to bring you in on it. So, is it a case of, at the moment, because obviously we've seen Madison drop out, drop in, drop out, drop in, drop out. Do you think it's a case of that it's the system that's causing the issue that Ange is playing, and the reason why we're not seeing the best of Madison? Or do you think it's a case of Madison needs to get used to the system and he can't exactly play every match because of his injury record?
I think it's a bit of both. I think Ash is right. I think the fact that Kulusevski's now become more of a central player is impacted slightly on Madison. I think everyone's probably in agreement that if Madison's at his best, he's in that team. But the problem is, you see him some games like City, United, when he plays, he dominates games, and then other times you're like, he hasn't touched the ball in 20 odd minutes. I think if he can get that level of consistency, and to be fair, that's always been labelled at him. When he was at Leicester, there was that thing that they say that he's got streaks in him. Basically, he's a bit of a streaky player where he'll have 5-6 games solid, and then after that he drops off for 5 or 6 games. And I think he's just got to bring that consistency, because, as I say, on his form, you look at his numbers throughout his Premier League career, and there's not many that can do what he does, but it's just him doing it consistently.
And just on that, Luke, because I think Spurs lack control in possession. Like, you'll see a lot of players, when they're passing it around, they'll pass it wide. It won't get to the player. Sometimes we move the ball a bit too quick. We don't know how to slow it down. Would you say that we need more like Madison type profiles in the team? So if Madison's dropping deep, he can pass to basically another player like himself that can be more effective in the final third. Do you think there's a profile issue within Spurs at the moment under Ange?
100%. Ball retention is one of the key problems which causes us our issues. Everyone talks about Ange's tactics, throwing men forward, this, that, and the other. The whole idea is that you throw men forward when you've got good possession. You're not supposed to be throwing men forward when you're on the verge of losing the ball. And I think that's the problem, especially when we're having our bad games. The midfield don't hold on to the ball good enough. We give the ball away cheaply too often. So if you had players like Madison in and around that are good on the ball, can hold the ball, can get the ball out to the wing backs or whoever that may be, then we would improve. And I think that's where we've been really let down this year. And I'm surprised that we didn't try to get a different 6 in, because I think that's the key position for us. Until we get a good 6, I think that we're going to keep struggling in that midfield, losing the ball.
Yeah, I agree, man. Hotspur K, we're going to bring you in as well in terms of like the profiles that we have at the moment. I remember back in the day, we had Ericsson. Ericsson was that guy who would link the play. He's really good at, finding that pass forward. And I'm starting to think, if Madison was in that Pochettino team, do you think he would thrive in that system? Like, do you think he's a player that needs to be further forward and we do need that number 6? What's your thoughts on it?
I agree. I think we need a quarterback.
Say that again? I can't even hear you.
Bloody hell. There we go. You got to hear me?
Yeah. Go on. Sorry, bro. Yeah, say it again.
I think we're dying for a quarterback.
You're dying for Højbjerg, is that what you said? Yeah. That type of profile where someone just sits in and allows Madison to push higher back. I want to come. Let me go to Sean. I'll come back to you. I don't know if you need to sort out your audio. It's sounding a bit crazy, but yeah. So, what do you think of the state of the midfield at the moment? Because I feel like when Manchester United played, they played through us way too easily. And obviously, Hotspur Cave just brought up about having that number 6, and so did Luke, to be fair. What do you think about Madison? Do you think does Kulu come back in and take Madison's spot?
Oh, hang on. Sorry, I just dropped my microphone.
It's all right. It's cool.
I think Madison divides opinion in my mind. I've got a couple of voices up here, and they tell me they talk always having an argument with each other about Madison, and I don't know really whether or not I enjoy enough of his on the ball to satisfy his off the ball work. Most of the time, he doesn't do enough off the ball. He doesn't come back, doesn't get stuck in when he plays. You have to go back to like the Man City away game when we won 4-0. And that in that particular performance, I was like, this guy is putting the shift, right? He's come back in, sat in front when necessary, and put in the graft. And I saw it against United. I thought he was really good in that regard. I thought he had one of his best performances for a long time. But generally speaking, I don't walk away from the stadium or from the games that impressed. And I feel like if you want to have, I always use the analogy, right? Like, you know, you got your workhorses and you got your show ponies, and he's a show pony player, but I don't think that this system really supports the notion of having too many show ponies. Whenever I've seen, like, we go with a front four that includes like Brennan Johnson, who's not even like, I say he's not a show pony because he's not good enough. He isn't a workhorse. He's like a Shetland pony. Like, he just trots around like in the dressage at the Olympics a lot of the time. And so if you're going to have him on the right, if you're going to have like a Sonny or Timo Werner on the left, a Sonny in the 9, you can't have Maddison on top of that. It's too, the system needs to press from the front, and you need at least 2 of that 4 to be like hard workers off the ball. And so that's where I like Solanke and Kulu. If they're in the team, I can tolerate Maddison, but then you've got to make room for both of them. And do you really want Kulu off the right? Probably not as much. He's not as effective out there. So like, it's a juggling act of like, where do you fit the right, like, how do you fit them all in where you get a good balance of off the ball press and aggression, and also, you know, utilize the skill set that Madison does provide. And he is tricky. He draws in free kicks. He's a perfect tool late in games, I think, as well. If you do have a lead to protect, he can like slow things down. And so there's lots of value there. I'm just not sure if he's a player that I would want to start. And I don't know necessarily if he...
What's your best midfield then? What's your best midfield? Would you drop Maddison for the next game, for example? Would you put Kulu
against Ipswich?
Would you put Kulu back in the 10, or not even Ipswich? I'm just saying in general. What does the best midfield look like? Do you drop Maddison and have Kulu, as you were just saying? Because, like, if we haven't got Solanke up top, you lose that press, and then you lose that physicality because Son's there on the left, for example.
Yeah.
What does your midfield look like? Does Maddison need to be sacrificed then? And how do you motivate Maddison further forward from that then?
That's the problem, right? Because I don't think Madison's someone that's going to be happy coming off the bench. He's not someone that normally, I think, comes off the bench having been shunned or whatever. I think he takes it a little bit personally and thinks that he shouldn't be a bench player. I think that's problematic. And I do believe that there's been some sort of like arguments behind the scenes or whatever between maybe Ange and him in the past. I don't know if that's true. I'm speculating. To answer the question directly, I think it depends. First of all, I think Matisse Tell, whilst he doesn't have the physicality of a Solanke, I do think he absolutely works really hard off the ball. He's a presser, and I really like him. I think he's got a weak shot at the moment. It's like Tesco's own brand, Sambuca, just doesn't kick the same way with his shot that the kind of the stronger stuff does. And so I feel like I've got a lot of time for Matisse Tell, so I'm not that bothered about the... I can still squeeze Maddison in. But to answer your question directly, how do you fit the midfield? I think it depends on what you do behind. If you're playing Bentancur and Bentancur's in the mood, or if Basuma's in the mood, then I think you can make room for Maddison because you've got that bite, that grit, that ability to sit. If you're playing Pape Sarr, then I don't think you can play Sarr and Maddison and also Sonny and also Johnson, for example. I think that you need to kind of have a little bit more determination. But to get all that, go on this weave like Donald Trump, to come back to it, as you guys were saying prior, Monster 6, we don't have one. And I've been calling for it for 3 years, all the way back from the Conte system. I didn't think that... As soon as I saw Bissouma, when we signed him, I was like, I can't wait. This guy's going to be excellent. And then he wasn't. He isn't the same player that he was at Brighton. You sell Højbjerg. To Jay's point, I think that Højbjerg probably would actually add value in this team. But I don't think he's a good enough level for what we're trying to achieve. So, for me, I still think there's a massive gap in our squad. And as much as I like Lucas Bergvall, I love his energy, I love his grit, I love his fight, but I think he's got red cards in him unless he calms down. I think he needs to kind of be careful that he doesn't blend that aggression into sloppiness with his decision-making in the tackle at times, because I think against Villa, for example, he could have been on a yellow card 3 times over inside the first 20 minutes, and luckily he wasn't. But yeah, it's a complex sort of answer, Ash, but ultimately I think there's space for Maddison.
Yeah.
But it all depends on what you do in the other spots in the team. I think if you play 1, then you might not have space for him. If you play 2 or 3, you can, but it's not a perfect fit. I don't think
you're saying you can't really build around Maddison, but I'm going to bring Will in, because then obviously we're looking at midfield dynamics again, and I'm saying, is it a thing where are we trying to shoehorn Maddison in, or do you believe that in a better system, you can allow Maddison to thrive and we can build around Maddison? Where do you see it? Where's the argument for you? Is Kulu come in? Do we drop Maddison, or do you protect his ego? Where does it all sit for you?
First of all, I feel like we need to just protect Kulu's hamstrings, mate. I genuinely feel like next couple games, give Kulu a bit of a rest whilst Madison's coming back. I know he's so pivotal to us, but he's that pivotal that we don't want. He's the next person to get injured. So I feel like Ipswich, I feel like we need to, whilst we've got players coming back, just give or take him off really early second half. But like Maddison, I mean, I feel like we need to just give him a run of games. I feel like whenever he's got, I mean, his stats, his underlying numbers have been really good. Whenever he's got like his confidence up, he's been dropped, like he's been taken out of the team. Now, I do think there's a reason to that. Like we were saying, like we haven't got that sort of defensive balance in the midfield. I don't think. Like we were saying, I don't think we ever replaced Wanyama. Do you know what I mean? That destroyer six. I mean, Højbjerg did it to an extent, but I mean, I feel like he was still quite limited. And we just had. Do you remember under Poch, that midfield balance was so good, and Ericsson, to be fair, he worked so hard off the ball. That was one of his biggest assets. He was such a hard worker in like out of possession. And Maddison, like I'm a bit hot and cold with Maddison as well. Because I feel like he is magic. Like when he's on the ball, he can make things happen. But he's also magic in the fact that when the going gets rough, he disappears. Like he's just you don't really want him. Like when your back's against the walls, I don't think he does. He hides. But when everything's going well, like thanks, Sean.
I like that. No, I didn't get the credit it deserved. I like it. Well done, Bill.
But I mean, yeah. Where was I? Yeah, but I mean, when things are going well, he's front and center. He's got a smile on his face, and that's when you kind of want him. So he's coming off the back of a really good performance, and he needs his flowers, but he needs to then kick on. I feel like just start him, but it's just hard with Maddison because you do need to compensate that with more defensive minded of like midfield structure. But like you were saying, Ash, like his technicality, his ball retention, like you were saying, Luke, is so needed. Like even when we're winning or we're trying to see things out and he's winning fouls or he's just rolling the player coming onto him, that's such a valuable asset that I can't see Saar having. I can't see. I mean, Bergvall to an extent, but we don't really have that. I mean, Kulusevski, it's hard because I feel like he's so much better off the ball, but he's a completely different player. Like he's more of a progressive carrier. He's not a sort of. I mean, he's technical, but you know what I mean. Madison comes deep, like you were saying. He comes deep. He wants the ball, and he sprays.
He's not a playmaker. He's not a playmaker. That's what I say. Yeah, Kulusevski's not a playmaker.
He's not. He's sort of like a bulldozer. He can't get him off the ball when he starts going. But Madison is almost that sort of intricate. That sort of he's pretty on the ball, and but like I said, when the going gets rough, he's not someone you want on the team. I've actually got a question for you boys.
I was going to ask you one question, actually, before we carry on. On that, but out of everyone in the Tottenham squad right now, when the going gets tough, has any of the players stepped up? Because I know we're all blaming Madison here, but what about the other players that are in the squad? Why have none of them stepped up?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But then again, I mean, he's a senior player in the team.
But he's not the only one. But he's not the only one.
No. I mean,
that's why I'm asking the question. Because because you said, look, his underlying stats have been, you look at them, but every Spurs fan, and including me, have all said we just expect a little bit more out of James Maddison. But as you said, when the going gets tough, and as he previously was with Leicester, but looking at Spurs as a whole, who else has stepped up when Maddison's not performing?
The kids.
And we're looking at Archie Gray, Bergvall, and Spence. If we're being realistic, so is it really Maddison's issue, or is it more? We just need more leaders in the squad.
Yeah, massively. We need more. We do need more leaders, and I feel like we've all been let down by our sort of senior players in the squad this season. I know Romero, Vicario, Madison. They've all been injured, but I just feel like when we demand more of them because we're so young as a team. And you do look to these players, and I don't know whether they're worn out, they're tired, but you expect more, you demand more from them. The kids, they're a let off, but they've been showing more fight, more hunger. I feel like.
I think it's a quality issue. Me personally, I think we've got too many players that are kind of in a similar ilk, a similar mold, and that's why I said to you, we've got in the midfield, like we've got too many, as people call it, number 8s or centre mids. And it comes back to what Ange wants. And I call it generalists versus specialists. Now, generalists, basically, the title is in the name, right? They basically do a bit of everything, But do they do anything really well? That's the whole point. That's the question. And when the midfield how Ange wants it. He wants them to rotate. So sometimes you would see Bentancur, I don't know, as a right-sided centre mid, and then you might see Bergvall in the 6. So you do see those type of rotations, and because of that, now we don't have a player that's actually in their right position. And for the system or for a midfield to work, you need balance, and the balance means, and lots of fans are calling for it, a defensive midfielder that protects the back line and that can distribute the ball, so Maddison doesn't need to necessarily drop back and dictate from deep. He can stay higher up, a bit like Eriksen. Eriksen for us back in the day for Poch, he was on the right wing, but he dropped from the right wing, dropped into midfield, and there was a rotation of the front three, which allowed players like Ali could drop into the right wing. Then you see Son would rotate with Kane sometimes, and the front 3/4 would rotate. So Eriksen would be like a false right winger that would drop into midfield. But where we don't have the balance in the defensive midfield, we've got a Bentancur and we've got a Basuma, who are a bit of everything, but they're not really defensive midfielders. So the balance is off there. Then we don't have a natural. We do have a playmaker in Madison, but we're asking him to drop deeper and do a bit of everything, and that takes away of his best ability, in my opinion. And then you've got players like Kulusevski, who's, for me, he's just a right midfielder. That's all it is. He's a right midfielder. He's got a left foot, and when he's in the middle, for me, sometimes he takes too long to kind of let that pass off, to let it go, and that's what's kind of killing our attack sometimes. But then it's like the players in front of them, do they have quality? Are they making them like? Are they moving off the ball to create passes? Do you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you've got a player like Maddison who's so talented, in my opinion, he sees a picture early, and some of these players, they don't see the picture as quick as he does, and they're not running into the right particular zones or areas or running off the ball. But that's just my opinion. I don't know.
That's the problem with the like the strategy from Ange, as I interpret it anyway, and people can disagree with me if they don't see this. He hasn't like specifically said this, but like paraphrasing, he has said, like, I set the team up with certain, policies, right, certain frameworks, but how does that look in reality? How's it executed? That's over to the players to figure out, right? And I'm like, I saw that from day one, and I was like, well, if that's the case, it's first of all, it's a little bit of an abdication of responsibility to set your team up. Second of all, when you're doing something so specific, like inverting double fullbacks and things, then first of all, it's a lot for people to get their head around, because they probably haven't grown up learning that stuff, especially the kids, right? But on top of that, if you're handing over the responsibility for the players to think unorthodox thoughts with regards what to do with the ball, what to do off of it, and you have players like Romero who just take it upon themselves to like become a false 9 at times, like wild things, then not only do you as a player have the responsibility and the authority to think outside the box and to do something that is unorthodox, but you have to rely on other people to be on the same wavelength as you when you're doing it. And so you've got to be thinking all the time as a player, should it be me that does something a little bit out of the box here? Or should it be someone else? And I've got to be paying attention that if they do it, I've got to react to it and then also be on the same wavelength. And if it's me that's doing it, I've got to hope that other people are going to be thinking on the same wavelength as I am and then react to me doing it. And it doesn't feel like there's any like restrictions on who can do whatever they want. Like I said, Romero, we've seen him move up to the 9 at times, right, in games. And so to me, I just feel like that's where you get this kind of like paradox of, at times when everyone's on the right chemistry, it's unplayable, because if you don't even know what you're going to do and you haven't got a clue what your teammates are going to do, how the hell are the opposition ever going to know what any of you are going to do? But then at the same time, that's where you get situations where you're just slightly off sync and you juke to the right and you thread the ball that way and you hope that this guy over here is intercepting it.
I think I'm going to say it straight, bro. I think the system is flawed. I'll tell you why. I'll come straight, because Son, for me, I'll be real. Son, for me, is not an out wide winger, meaning he doesn't go on the outside anymore, right? So he's not an out wide winger. I don't even think he's an inverted winger where he beats his man on the inside. I don't think that's his best position. I think his best position is running off, running into space. Just, inside 9 and inside forward. Do you know what I mean? Then you look at Johnson. is very similar. He's an inside forward, so he's vertical, another vertical player. So someone that runs in straight lines, not really a winger that goes on the outside. Even on the inside, he's not an inverted winger either, so he doesn't go inside. And even if he wanted to invert in the wing, you've got the fullbacks inverted in that position as well. So for me,
you also get like you're buying those players. Sonny was always good on the counter.
exactly.
Brennan Johnson was a counter team specialist, right?
Exactly.
You go and sign him, and then you expect us to play 70% possession, and the other team are going to low block. Why have you got Brennan Johnson in that squad? Why have you got like it doesn't make sense
just to go even deeper? If you look at our stats, we are one of the I think we're top in terms of short passes, especially from our goalkeeper. Our goalkeeper, he's the one that plays out from the back the shortest out of all the goalkeepers in the league. So we build up short passes, and I think we're third or fourth in terms of short passes in general. When it suits someone like Son, direct balls in behind. Johnson, again, direct balls in behind. And Werner, direct balls in behind. Like, obviously, I'm not a fan of Werner, but all of those three players I've mentioned, they're all inside forwards for me. They're not out wide wingers. And so
what percentage of the games that we play do you have the opportunity to take advantage of inside forward specialists? You don't, right?
We don't. And that's
10%,
what I'm saying.
10% of games?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The system is flawed. And that's why I think we have 10 or 15 minutes where we have spurts where we actually blitz teams away, because teams eventually, we get a little bit tired. So we drop off naturally. And then as we bait the press, that's when we have the space in behind, and then we can hit those things. But all equally, just the last point I'm going to make on Solanke. So a lot of people said we miss Solanke because of his press, because of his work rate, and because of how hard he works. He effectively dictates the way we press. And I think he learned that from Iriola, how to press, how to time his runs, how to get his distances right. That's my personal opinion. And I think that's why when Solanke is in that system, our press looks much better. And no one else, when he's out of that system, our press doesn't look as solid. But yeah.
I don't disagree with you. I just for what it's worth, I know they're different different profile players, but I do think Matisse Tell has got an art for the press as well. He's got bags of energy, and he's not as strong and physical. He's not going to be able to hold the ball up.
Matisse Tell is not a centre forward. He, for me, is a wide forward again. That can beat the man. He can beat his man like inverted, so he can invert off the touch line. But again, he's not a centre forward where he's a target man. You sting a ball into him. He's strong and he holds it up, links the play like that. He's more of a player that would run off that line. So again, it comes down to the system. Is it really best suited for someone like Tell? Do you know what I'm saying? That's my whole
we're buying every single player that we seem to buy or be linked with is versatile, like you said, generalist, right? But I've got like versatile players that can do a little bit of this and that. When you've got a system that is so specific, why have we got absolutely no specificity in the profile of players that we have bought? And the players that we've sold have a far higher likelihood to be bucketed into the specialist or the specificity category. Yet we seem to be going after versatility. And like you said, Ash, at the start, right? In that, if you're going after to like, it's like going to the doctor, right? If you got something you're not sure what it is, you go to the MP, you go to the GP first. But Tottenham need like a cardiologist and a hamstring specialist or whatever. But you need people that are good at things that the system dictates, and we don't have any of it. It's a real dislocation from like logic with regards to our profile.
I think with the argument for that though is the planning. We keep flip and flopping between plans. So we go from a defensive-minded manager to we signed a Pedro Porro and a Udogie to play as wing-backs. All of a sudden, we've now got a manager. So that starts at the very top. We need to make sure that people don't want Postecoglou. I like Postecoglou. I think what he's brought to the club, I can see where there are clear issues, and I think everyone can. But I can also see where there's positives. And then,
do you just quickly though? Do you think that it was really stupid for everyone in the club and also everyone in the fan base to just watch 45 minutes of the experiment that was a back three, and then because it failed against the only team that you would go away to and not ever use a back three, because Everton just are not that sort of team to play against, but then they go, oh, it didn't work, therefore shelve that idea, tried it, failed, let's move on, let's go back to when you have a squad that is so much more a better fit for wing back systems and like centre backs that can step out with the ball and then you have a 6 anyway. If you were to have a Romero or even an Archie Gray doing it, they can bring the ball out. You know, Romero's the best passing centre back in the league, in my opinion, on his like when he's fit. Like the idea that we tried it for 45, but we didn't even give it 90 minutes. We gave it one half of football. And went, that failed. Let's never talk about the back three again. I'm like, what? Why? What are we doing here? It's madness.
The thing that I found crazy about that was the fact that we have no time to train tactics. That we've just had no time. They're not on the training pitch. All they're doing, you have a match, you have a rest day, then you're recuperating. So there's no physical demands in the training sessions. So then
why try it? Why do it? Why do it at all? If you haven't had the time to play it, then why do it? You know?
I think that was a big problem, and I've said this to load of people I know. I, for some reason, feel like he does not trust Archie Gray in a 6. He doesn't trust Archie Gray. Every single time he's had the chance to play that, he seems to have come away from it. And I personally feel, as an 18-year-old, going back into centre back is a much more difficult asset when you've never played there.
Then why sign him? You know what I mean? You signed him as a 6, and then you play him everywhere else apart from the 6. And again, like, look, this I take it from your comment earlier that you might be like, you know, this starts at the top, a Levy thing. That's fine if you feel that way. But Ange Postecoglou has to take some of the responsibility for some of the decisions regarding how he sets and shapes his team and the structure of it. And to me, there's a lot of question marks around why are you trying something for 45 minutes if you're not set up for it, if you haven't practiced it? If you have and you think it's good enough, why are you only giving it a 45-minute sample size? It's not just the back three, by the way, that fits that model. The wing backs, I think it was yourself, Luke, that said it, right? Or maybe it was Ash. Like, Pedro Porro is a far more likely candidate to succeed as a wing back when he has the protection of a right-sided defender behind him. He can abdicate that defensive role a little bit more, and you're not going to get caught out. Same with Pedro Porro. Both of those guys were wing backs in their former clubs. You've got players in the back that are good footballers, and you don't have a midfield that is capable of playing in a holding pattern anyway. And to Ash's point, they're all generalists. To me, it's like defies logic to say that it's a dead system for this manager. And even if it is, then why do it in the first place?
Yeah,
crazy.
I think one of the things with this fan base, though, if you're an Anjin, everyone thinks that everything he does you agree with. That's not the case. When Poch was here, I didn't agree with everything. Yeah. I remember pulling my hair out with Pochettino going, we're 5-0 up in one game, we've got 5 minutes to go, why have you not subbed on the 16-year-old? Why have you not brought on the 17-year-old? So there's always going to be different issues here and there. And you were saying about the point about the wingers. If he had a prime Son is very much an inside forward, but he's also a touchline winger. He has capabilities on that left-hand side.
That's the case, though. He hasn't got. He should be able to look at that and think, maybe I could tweak my system and allow my wingers closer to the goal line and maybe touch the edge of the box and allow those wing backs or the full backs to play out wide, and that will give more space. Because remember how Son used to shoot outside from the box. Like, that's one thing we used to know him to do: right foot, left foot. Do you know what I'm saying? And even this, like, allow Son to play on the opposite wing or the opposite side. Sorry, do you know what I mean? I would like to see some adaptability there. Why is he always stuck? Why is he committed to the left side? Can we not see him on the right? We've seen him up front. Can we not see him switch over?
Unpredictability is the second best ability, right, Ash?
Yeah. So not even like if it's just a half, like, or like how it used to be back in the day, like you'd see wingers say, I want to take that full back on. You take that full back on. Do you know what I mean? So it's things like that. But also, in terms of intensity, this is another question I have, and anyone can answer, anyone can jump in. But like, intensity on the ball is one thing, but we do intensity off the ball as well. And we have, I think, the highest sprints in the league. And I said this on my last show, and I actually brought out the actual stat.
By a country mile, by the way. It's not even close. Like, everyone else is a cluster in the middle, and then you got Tottenham. Like,
just on a different island. Like, it's crazy.
It's Hawaii. We are the Hawaii of the United States. Like, we are an 8-hour flight away.
Literally. And I'm like, isn't that maybe a sign that that's the link to some of our injuries, to some of our hamstrings? And if so, don't you think Ange should try to maybe manage that a bit better in games? I'm not saying like we go to the back three for the whole game or like we did against Brentford, just go on a complete low block for the whole game. I'm saying there's times in a game where you manage it and you say, actually, you know what? Let's reserve some energy here. Let's do a mid block for like 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the game. And then, like what Newcastle do. Newcastle, they're very intense. They have high intensity. But compared to us, I think Eddie Howe manages that intensity by dropping that the position of the team slightly lower on the pitch, and he conserves those players a little bit more.
I'd say there's two parts to that, though. I'd say, first of all, it's working out why are we sprinting so much. And I think half of it is because we give away easy possession, which means people are out of position and therefore sprinting. But obviously, going back to the numbers, there is something that needs to be looked at there. But again, people that are around Joe say all of the injuries are down to him. And a lot of the arguments that I've seen is we should bring in Iriola, who has very similar amount of injuries, playing far less games. So again, there has to be some sort of idea there in terms of everything seems to be on Postecoglou or not on Postecoglou. There has to be some sort of balance there.
I think
our medical department.
There's no such thing as balance in the fan base, Luke. Come on, mate. No such thing as balance.
It would be fun otherwise.
I think what keeps being forgotten about is our medical department has been shambolic for about 25 years.
Yeah, they've been advertised on LinkedIn as well. It's crazy.
It's like people seem to think that, oh my God, we've only just started having injuries since here. I remember every time someone went down, we used to go, oh, he's out for 15 weeks. He's out for another 2 years. Do you know what I mean? So we've always had these problems.
I just think like, for me, when I watch it, it's the distance covered. Like, there's one thing doing sprints over short distances of ground, but when you have to cover a lot of ground, for example, I've seen Porro jump to press the opposite fullback or one of our players to drop to press a centre back, but it's the distance that they have to cover for those sprints. I think that's an issue for me, and so that's what I mean by the positioning of the team that could be changed. Like, for example, pressing triggers. I think our pressing triggers are predictable at the moment. Teams know how to set up against us, and we don't know when to, have a bit of nuance. Because I think Arsenal, at one point, they were like us. They were quite intense, high pressing in the earlier stages of Arteta's reign. And then he had to kind of switch up, and he thought, actually, no, you know what? I need to change my pressing triggers because I've been figured out here. And for certain teams, I need to dial it back. And I think that's what we're lacking at the moment. We need to learn in games. We're not always doing the same type of press, and we don't have to cover as much distance. And I think that's what adds to the hammies. And I know, and I do agree with you, it's not all the same injuries, but I like there was a rumor. I don't know, Will, I'll bring you in, Will. Like, there was a rumor that Kane, has been linked for a return. Would you take Kane back under this Ange Postecoglou team? 32? Is he 32? 33?
I mean, he wouldn't last long, I don't think. What was it was his ankle, wasn't it? It was his ankles.
Under Poch, it was his ankles, yeah.
Yeah, it was always. I mean, Kane, I would take Kane. Obviously, I'd take Kane because we haven't got anyone that can sort of pull a rabbit out of a hat, out of nothing. We haven't got anyone in the team that can do what he can do and create chances for himself and just be that game changer. But, I mean, I don't think he'd be a fit for the team, but it's almost like, I mean, it's of course I'd bring it back because it's Harry Kane. Obviously I would, but maybe he'd have a bit more of a. This sounds stupid, but a bit more of like a bit part.
The answer is always yes, Will. The answer to Harry Kane is always yes, bro.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
He's got like 80 goals in 75 appearances.
Yeah, I think I'm good with. I think I'm good with Solanke. No.
He makes our system work better. That's what Faz are saying, bro.
So, workhorse, bro. The man's a workhorse.
Yeah, I feel like it is what it is. Harry Kane's Harry Kane, and of course you're going to bring him back. But I mean, do you think that's realistic? I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm just throwing it out there because obviously, like, people like Luke saying, the pressing situation, the injuries, etc. It's not all down to him. And I'm like, well, if you had a choice, Luke, would you have Kane in or would you have Ange in? Like, that's what I want to know.
There's no question there. Come on. I mean, I'm thinking Kane. The other part of
bags, mate.
If we had £55 million is all it's going to cost you. Is that 62 this year, 53 or something next year?
55 in the summer, yeah.
But check this. I think the Tell deal was a part of Kane. I think the Kane and Tell deal go hand in hand. I think that money that was owed to the Kane deal, I think that was something to do with Tell. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm just
No,
throwing
I,
it
agree.
out there.
I think you're right about that. Well,
That's
but I don't,
what
think, I don't think
it's-
that means. I don't think that means that like we don't like. Maybe that means some of the money that we're owed is written off, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't think that means that we like at the end of the day, his release clause is still going to be his release clause, and we still get first dibs as part of the deal.
So wait, if we don't sign Tell, then where does the Kane money go? Because I never knew. I thought the Kane money had been spent, but now knowing this, it's like a can of worms. I'm like, so you mean this?
Mate, I will do something weird if I don't even know why I'm even saying this, but I'll do something weird, odd on screen if Tottenham do not break the club transfer record this summer.
What
we
like
would-
a Levy out
We're,
t-shirt?
we're clipping that.
Yeah, it's not like I've got any upside to it. I'm just saying, yeah, I'll do whatever. I'll take
It's a charity bet, isn't it?
I'll tongue kiss Bugsy or something. I don't know. It's not worth it. I don't know why I'm saying it. No animal
Poor
abuse.
Bugsy.
Yeah, no animal abuse.
Join the protest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at the protest. I was at the protest on. No, I wasn't protesting.
No,
I was
you
there
have to
just
lead. You have to
capturing
lead it, Sean.
No, you have to be.
Yeah, you start.
Get a tannoy out. Get the tannoy out. Yeah. But I genuinely do think I think that Tottenham, but by August the 15th or whenever the season starts, you will see at Tottenham a new club's highest earner, and you will see a new transfer record.
And what position? But what position would that be? Do you reckon? Like, what do you think we'll break the bank for?
Either a centre back, or
so
a.
Do you think Romero's gone then? Do you think Romero will leave, or do you think
not even that? Not even that. I don't.
Position?
Well, maybe. Look, I mean, that's an interesting topic, right? The Van de Ven thing, because you can only get 40% of minutes out of Van de Ven. As much as I love the geezer, there's stories out today saying that Liverpool are looking for a long-term replacement for Virgil van Disney, right?
Yeah.
And so their top three targets are Mark Gahey, Van de Ven. Van de Ven's their number one, but Mark Gahey and Dean Huijsen source from Bournemouth. And Tottenham, funnily enough, are interested apparently in also Mark Gahey and also Dean Huijsen. So, but I don't know if there's any truth to the actual legitimacy of the idea that we bid £70 million on deadline day for. I don't think it was. I think it was probably like, we'll throw it out there to make us look like we're making
all these deadline day transfers and all these late bids. Like,
I think that there's a little bit of like. There's some truth to it in as much as, look, the January transfer window, for what it's worth, is a ridiculous concept that was only set up because of employment laws in the EU. We're not even part of the EU anymore, right? So, to me, like, why is it that Saudi Arabia and Turkey can get an extra week, but we can't? We're outside of Europe now. Why don't we start changing those rules, right? But either way, like the idea that you can get all your business done in 31 days is madness because it's a Mexican standoff, right? Everyone sits there and doesn't want to shoot first because, normally it's just been that way since time began. But on top of that, there's new elements to that whole debate now because before this season, European football was finished by Christmas and then didn't start again until February or March. But now you've got the last two games of the new formats that don't even finish until the last week of January, and none of the big teams want to lose their players if they still got everything to play for. And in the Europa League, the only team that knew that they were in the final in the top 8. Going into the last week of fixtures or the last fortnight of fixtures was Lazio. So everyone else had things things to play for, right? And sorry, mate. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, mate. I was sorry. Ignore me. I was putting my thumb up at someone in the comments. Sorry.
So, like, with regards like the last day of the window thing, I don't know if Tottenham ever had any significant, like, real expectation that Palace were going to do anything in that regard. And if they were, you'd have to make it an offer they can't refuse. And 70 million probably isn't it. But regardless of all that stuff, put that to one side. Like, I do think in the summer you're going to see a top, a number one club record. Whether that's Gahey, it wouldn't be Huijsen because that's £50 million release fee that anyone can trigger under his new contract terms. But if not that, then someone at the top end of the pitch. Now, again, Matisse Tell wouldn't be a record signing, but I think that there's every reason to think you might go and get Jamie Gittins, and that would be a record signing. And I think that Tottenham would. I think that we should get right on board that one. That kid is absolutely insane. Right?
Don't you think that it's not the first time we've done business quite late and missed out on other deals? Like, I don't know. I'll ask it to the whole panel. Anyone can jump in, by the way. But it's because for me, it's been a theme of this club's history. Well, I'd say like recent times, and I say like the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years, where we do act quite late for deals, and it's actually a style of Spurs at the moment. Daniel Levy in particular, I think that's what he does. I think he tries to wait till the last minute to get. He's more of an opportunist, in my opinion, than someone that's quite proactive in terms of getting the business done early. I think there was only one, maybe 2 seasons where I can remember off the top of my head. One being Conte, when no one expected us to get top 4. And actually, in that season, when I think about it and I deep it, it was because there was a World Cup coming up as well. And I think that's maybe why we got the business done early. But I think it was, I think it was a mixture of reasons why we went a little bit early. But other than that, I can't think of times where we've had a window, summer window especially, where we've done things like mad early.
Once when we signed Trippier, Alderweireld, and I can't remember who the other one was, and we went early. That was Poch's second season, I think. We had most of our players in early before pre-season.
It's not uncommon though, guys. Like, I know people only look into Tottenham because they care about Tottenham, but it's the same for most teams. Like, I know this January, but like Manchester City obviously are working under a different remit, but like the 90% of all transfers happen in the final 3 days. Right, so like it's not an uncommon theme because, like I say, everyone's doing the Mexican standoff. And with regard Daniel Levy specifically, I think that he's obviously not someone that's just gonna like. He's got this weird relationship with negotiation that is celebrated by the media. That like, oh, he's a tough negotiator. He isn't. He's a car salesman who basically says, "This is my price. Come back to me when you want to pay it, or come back to me when you want to accept it." Right? And that's not really the way that you should engage with people as a salesman, unless it's a transactional relationship where it's one and done. Right? Like if you've only got a relatively small number of people to deal with, then you shouldn't really burn bridges with that kind of, someone has to win, someone has to lose, zero-sum game approach to wheeling and dealing. You should be able to kind of think about the fact that you're probably going to have to go back to that table and negotiate with them 2-3 more times over the next 10-15 years, and he doesn't seem to recognize that. So
maybe
on that basis, he ends up like waiting because no one's willing to. He's not going to ever pay the money that someone asks for it immediately, and he's never going to accept the first bid because he thinks if that's your first bid, then you're willing to pay a lot more.
Maybe it's just me, and like, we'll go on, Roy. So go on. I've been talking a lot.
I was just gonna say, like, this opportunistic sort of process or the way we go about it is just such bullshit. Because how can you be so like forward planning on opportunistic signings? How can you sort of build a big old project when you're going for like opportunities who are just available in the market? But I kind of feel like we fell upwards with Tel and Danto the last few days of the window, because they kind of just their availability kind of just fell on our lap, and they do fit the system. They do, and the people we were being linked with, like so-called opportunities, were players like Skriniar on a loan to buy, players that would never have fitted our system. So I do feel like we got so lucky at the end of the January transfer window in signing Tel. Obviously, we had to do a lot of convincing for Tel and Danto. Obviously, we stole off Wolves, but I mean, we got really, really fortunate with this sort of opportunistic like viewpoint. But that's all I wanted to say. What were you going to say, Ash? Sorry.
Yeah, no. I just feel like, I don't know if it's just me. And everyone hates this example, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. It's the whole Jack Grealish deal at Aston Villa, and I felt like, I don't know, maybe it's just
I know
me.
what Sean's going to say.
I know Sean's ready for me, but
I've been talking too much, bro. So tell you what, do my job for me. Say your point, and then also say the thing I would say after that. Okay?
No, I just, you know what? Look, I'm here to be wrong, innit? I'm very open-minded, and I just feel like that's just the one example I can remember off the top of my head. But I just feel like sometimes we go for a player.
When you look at what other people have said, especially with scouts and stuff, at the end of the day, it always comes to the fact of these scouts and everyone will take things to the board, to Daniel Levy, and go, this is the player we want, this is the player, the thing. And then it's down to him to go and do the last bit negotiation. And every single scout or people that have come out and said afterwards, that's where it falls down, because it's determined on, and as Sean said earlier, whether Daniel Levy thinks it's the right amount of money, and it's the Mexican standoff to go, is this player right or is it not? Now, sometimes in this situation, Daniel Levy always wants to be the one who's got the better deal. He's always said this. It's always what's best for Tottenham. Now, it's not generally always what's best for Tottenham because he's got an ego. We can clearly see he's got an ego when it comes to this negotiation. So he's going to be at a point where there's going to be so many players that have fallen through the cracks because Mane is another one that fell through the cracks. Salah has fallen through the cracks. But at the point when we signed them, we might not have even had the right manager for them. So
well, look at Salah. Salah went to Chelsea.
Yeah,
and so did Kevin De Bruyne, by the way.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
And both of them got shipped out because they weren't a good fit. But with the Jack Grealish thing, like everyone relates to that one, right? But like, you have to recognise that it wasn't just Tottenham that didn't pay the money that Aston Villa wanted. Everyone else didn't pay it either. I know. With the benefit of hindsight, he became £100 million player.
Yeah,
but at the time,
I know.
he stayed at Villa for another 2 seasons, right?
I hear it. No. I'm sorry, Luke. I'll let you come in. My only point was sometimes it just feels like the whole summer is drawn out by a transfer. So we get wind of it that, we're interested in this player. And then I feel like, all right, cool.
Great for content, though, mate. Great for content. If everything was done in day one, what are we going to do? What are we going to do for the next 3 months? Go on holiday.
Yeah, come on.
I hear it, but I'm just saying as a fan, innit? I would, in the ideal world, it's not an ideal world, is it? Maybe my expectations are not realistic because, players, clubs, they say their fee. This is how much the player costs. And then obviously negotiations open up and then you start. But I don't feel like with us, I feel like that doesn't happen until, as you would say, towards the end of the window. And that's a style of Spurs. But go on, Luke, man, go on. And that's just my frustration, by the way. Go on. Luke.
I was actually going to stick up for Sean a little bit as well.
Just on the
basis that, and this happens everywhere, but Levy's been here for 25 years. He's going to have missed out on players. It's a simple fact of it. If you listen to every single time Wenger speaks about signing a player, he's nearly signed every single player you could ever imagine. But he's been in it 25 years, so he's going to have missed out on some players. But I agree with you. I think this January we knew so far in advance how many injuries we had, where we had the injuries.
Wait, Luke, just on that. Do you feel like this January is like new? Like this isn't a thing where what Spurs do? Like, because that's how I feel. I feel like this is something that's been happening. Do you think this is like, we knew that we had the injuries. We knew we had to do something early, but we didn't, and we left it right to the end. So you feel like this season is a one-off? I
don't feel like this season is a one-off, but the thing with the European football is a big factor, and it's something. This is a new market. We've never had a January like this. So, but the problem with us is that we had these injuries so long ago. We knew so far in advance. So January is basically a reactionary window. People don't go and spend 150 million if they don't need to in January. However, this January we knew early on. If we would have got Danzo, and Tell is a different one. Tell was only going to get done at the end of the window. It was never going to get done early on. But if we signed Danzo 2 weeks, 3 weeks previous, would we have lost that many games? Now, that's up for speculation, but I'd argue and say we wouldn't have.
Does anyone think that Tell is like, so far we've seen him, like we've seen a whole game of him now. Does anyone think he's like worth the 55 mil like that's being quoted for? I know it's hard to say. I know. I just thrown it out there. Look, we're on a podcast for YouTube.
What does 55 million pound get you these days, though? How much do we pay for Brennan Johnson?
Yeah, no, I hear it. I
saw that guy, Kieran Maguire, on.
Yeah, I watched that
on
today as
Spurs Diehards, Ian and Adrian's channel last night, and he made I didn't even know these stats, and I consider myself like fairly close to the economic kind of detail, right? But I didn't know these stats that this guy brought out. He said since I think it was either 91. I think he was either talking about since Levy took over or since the start of the Premier League. I forget what the year was, but he basically
said since Levy took over.
Since Levy took over, the revenues of chairman or of clubs has jumped 2,700%, give or take, right? So a lot, right? But wages have jumped 3,700%, so 10x more in the highest cost allocation, the highest department of cost in your football club. And so the challenge is like, well, where's the motivation to get on, like to jump in and get on board as an owner? But it's not just salaries. like the inflation in the price of players. Like how long ago was it?
I agree.
I'll put it out there.
You're right.
How long ago was it that £40 million got you a top?
Sissoko.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was
Rivaldo,
Jesus
innit?
Christ.
Rivaldo.
Yeah.
Rivaldo was like
That's
Rivaldo
the
and Figo.
How to completely destroy a point in one word. But you go back a little bit, but it wasn't that long ago, right? The £40 million got you a top draw player, one of the maybe the top 20 in the world in that position, top 30, whatever. Whereas these days, £40 million gets you a player that's 18 years old that hasn't kicked the ball in the Premier League in Archie Gray. And I'm not hating on Archie Gray. I think he's going to be sensational for Tottenham. But it does, like, £40 million doesn't buy you anything anymore. It's like a similar story when you go to the supermarket and you're like, I'll get 6 eggs, please. And they're like, it's £12.30 or whatever. And you're like, what? What's going on? But like, it's a common theme that, I mean, Matisse Tell, I don't know. Like, I've been really impressed by him, Ash. I think he's got a lot to be. He's raw for sure.
Very raw. I
think there's a player there, a real good player.
Do you know what it is with Tell? I think he's so eager to impress that he's going for the wrong style of shot. Like, for example, I think Tell is right-footed, yeah? But all the shots I saw were with his weaker foot on his left foot. And that's why, like, his shots look under-hit.
Some weak-ass shots as well when they made them.
Really under-hit, like, lacking power. And you're like, right, is this our striker? Do you know what I'm trying to say? And people are looking at it thinking, I'm not too sure. And so I think if he takes his time a little bit more and shapes to shoot a bit better and opens his hips up and lets it fall onto his, or quickly sorts his feet out and allows it to go into a stronger foot, he's going to get a better quality shot. Some of the passes, though, were slightly behind him, like the one Son put for him.
For sure.
So I bake that into my context.
He'll score goals for us. He'll definitely. I reckon, but before the end of the season, you'll see him on 7 goals before, 6 goals before the end of the season. If he stays fit.
I want to talk about, like, just to move on quickly, just on Son, because I don't know what you lot think, but I just think in this system, we're not getting the best out of him. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking, when Solanke comes back in the number 9 position, Son's got competition, in my opinion. He's got Odeberg, who can play on the left. I know he played on the right before, but potentially, I thought Odeberg, when he did come on, looked much better on the left, even though we saw him a lot centrally in that kind of 10 position, in my opinion. And I thought, hang on a second, Odeberg in the 10, like quick feet, running at players, taking his man on inside or outside, looking unpredictable. I think that could work. But equally, Odeberg on the left looks a bit more.
You can't have Odeberg in the 10, mate. The 10's got to drop deep and do a little bit of defensive work. He hasn't got that stuff on him. You need him out on the wing.
No. If you're a 10, technically, if you're a 10, you play behind the striker. The defensive work is higher up the pitch, technically. But if you're
I hear that, but like, have you seen anything from him that I think he's a standard winger. Like, he's a typical old.
I'm saying at Burnley he did play in the 10, and I'm just saying when he did come on, he was a lot more central than he was that wide, in my opinion. And when he was taking his man, he had a lot of unpredictability. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think he, on the left hand side, when he inverts on that wing, he's taking his man on and he's getting a shot off. Like, so
busy
player. A little bit more than what Son's doing at the moment. I think Son looks like he's overthinking and he's not able to enter the box as much. He's not able to take his man on.
His confidence is cooked. His body is cooked. His engine is. I made the joke. I made a joke last year, and I said it once in a back room, and Henry took it, ran with it, and then put it on Twitter and got all sorts of hate. I said, I feel like Brennan Johnson is on the vape. And I'm going to say it again and then Henry just got abused for it. I'll say it now. I'm not suggesting that Sonny's on the vape, but his engine is looking like he's on the vape, bro.
I just think Sonny deeper. Go on, bro. Sorry, go
on. To be honest, personally, I see Son in that little pocket of space between Johnson and Werner on the fucking bench. Like, I'm sick and tired of. I feel like this system has destroyed him, and it's so frustrating to see because he doesn't fit the system, but he's over relied upon just because he's human, Son. So and do you know what we're not getting as well? We're not getting combinations. We're not getting like. What I'm excited to see is like Tell and Odeberg's rapport, Kulusevski and Solanke, they have a combination. I think Son, where he naturally wants to invert, and obviously a Doggy's there, Madison comes. They're all blocking up each other's channels, and what you're seeing is the over reliance on Son. And I know we've had injuries, and he can't really help that. Can't really help playing because what's the alternative? What has been the alternative this season? Maybe Werner or so. I don't know, but what I feel like the over reliance on him, the lack is just it's detrimental to his confidence. He is so low on confidence right now. And what Odebear showed as soon as he came on, Odebear's been injured for like 4 months. And he as soon as he got the ball, he was so direct, just running out of defence. Albeit as a tired Man United defence, there was a lot of space to run into. But we haven't seen that from Son for how long? On a consistent basis. Like Odebear, he just added a different dynamic, and he is a profile. And that's the thing with Ange, with this system. There's so many positions where you need a specialist, and we're shoehorning players that aren't that into that position and heavily relying upon them. And you're seeing what it's doing to like players like Son, because I still think Son's got more to give. He's definitely more limited than he was. He's definitely maybe lost a yard and that sharpness. But I mean, he's still got that shot from the outside of the box. We're not seeing it. I just think this whole confidence thing, you see it. He misses a shot, his head goes up. He don't take on his man. He passes it back when there's other options. He'll sort of like line up as if he's going to go past someone, turn his back and pass it. He's just shot on confidence, and Odebear just come on. And I'm not saying Odebear's a better player, but he's just a more of a stylistic fit.
He looks like that guy to me who he gets dumped by his girlfriend. And the girlfriend moves on, and he sees the girlfriend down like the high street with like a better looking version of him, and he's gone and put on 2 stone, and he's just gone, oh no! Like the one person I didn't want to sort of walk into was her, and look what she's doing, and look what I've become. And I feel like he's it's not just about his pace, it's not just about his confidence, it's about it's like there's been a switch in his mind where he doesn't know what to do anymore. It's not just confidence. He doesn't know whether to step in, and he just ends up turning around and just passing it back. And just to quickly, last thing I'll say, Will, when you said like Odebear comes on, yes, it's against tired United legs. If Sonny comes on in the 85th minute,
you don't do that.
Do you see anything different from Sonny? I don't think you do. I think you still see a guy that's going to get the ball, turn around, and pass it back to where it came from, and that to me is problematic.
So that's what I'm coming back to Luke now, because I'm saying obviously you're Ange. And I'm looking at the system, and I'm like, is Ange getting the best out of the players that he has? Because if I'm looking at profiles and I compare it to Man City, who are a possession-based team, and we're basically doing what City does in terms of we're meant to be controlling the game with possession. They've got different profiles. The profiles they've got ball carriers, they've got wingers that like to go outside, on the outside, so they're able to touch it in terms of like Doku and Savinho. They're 2 like touchline wingers that go on the outside. Then you've got Grealish, that is more of an inverted winger, in my opinion. He can go on the inside, so that's slightly different. Bernardo Silva, the same, can go either outside or inside. So then you've got 2 inverted wingers. But then you can say maybe that he's a bit of a magician, because Bernardo Silva can do a bit of everything. He's not just a winger. He can play in the midfield, take his man on in the midfield. I know Pep's asking him to do different things. Then you've got, different architects, is what I'm saying. You've got players that turn defense into attack through your ball carriers. Whereas Spurs, we've got, as I said before, 3 inside forwards. And then in terms of wingers, we've just got Odebear, really, if you actually look at it. Maybe Mikey Moore. Possibly Solomon. People might say Solomon's more of a winger, but he's out, obviously, at Leeds, and he couldn't stay fit for us. So how does the system...
He can't come back, mate. He can't come back to Tottenham. Especially if we're getting Qatari owners in, bro. That's a political hot potato.
I know. But I'm just saying, isn't it? Like, in terms of profiles. But yeah, you're right.
Well, just looking at what you just said, actually, you're comparing it to City. But if you take City this season, Son has the same amount of assists as Savinho, which is their highest assist. He's got the highest assist in the league. And you're looking at Bernardo Silva and them other players, and they're not pulling up the numbers that Son is producing. So everyone's sitting there bashing Son. But actually, when you look at his goals and assists, he's still producing.
What's his numbers? What's Sonny's numbers?
So he's got 7 assists this year and 6 goals. When you compare that to the rest of the team, Brendan
Johnson,
all comps in the Premier League, this Premier League,
Sonny's got 13 GA this season.
Yes.
Yeah. He's got that.
And that's why when you're saying about him being an inverted forward, inside forward, I completely agree. But his left foot's just as good as his right foot. The thing with him, he's got such good quality in his feet. He doesn't need to beat his man. and Ange likes to get crosses in the box. So I just think that he's massively lacking in confidence, and I think the fact that he's playing so much, so regularly, with no time coming off, really, he's not getting any. I think he will get better. He's nowhere near the level he was at. And Brennan Johnson, he is an inside forward in terms of he gets in the box, but he is also a player who should be trying to use his pace on the right hand side, far on the right hand side, to cut across and get the balls across. And that is the whole idea. That is what Solanke was very good at Bournemouth, is they get wide and they get balls in the box, and we don't seem to be doing that. But what's really weird is that Johnson's at almost the start of his career, and he looks like he's got no confidence to try and beat his man despite having the pace. And then you've got Son on the other side, who is in a very similar situation. If them two was to get a little bit of confidence, then the whole system does sort of change.
Yeah, the thing with Son as well is that we've got too many profiles the same. And I've seen Lily White Lab say it, I've seen Ben Bowman say it. I feel like we need a different player on the other side to benefit Sonny. Because if we're going to be up against sort of that low block and we can't have two of the same profiles, sort of, you need that complement of having someone who's more of a 1v1 specialist, maybe like Odebear, maybe on the right with Son on the left, because Son is you don't really want Son at the moment, especially at the moment with his confidence, in build-up play. You don't want that. You want him on the end of finishes. You want him sort of away from play and then coming in last minute and scoring a goal. If we had someone else who on the other side who had a different profile, because Johnson, Werner, they all do the same thing, go to the byline. We're seeing it with Son as well. And there's a balance there that just doesn't work. There's a dynamic there that doesn't work. So I feel like that is a bit detrimental to Son as well.
Well, just to go back on the actual Ange ball, I know we don't like to call it that, but like Man United were able to like play through us, play right through our midfield, and I feel like it's been a common theme this season. And obviously we got the win, the 1-0 was positive, but is that not a red flag for you that we're so easy to play through in that central area, or what do you think that's down to, and how can we improve that?
Personally, I think against United, I don't think they was able to play for us centrally that easy. I think a lot of their play come from Bruno Fernandes on the right wing back sort of area with crosses into the box. But yes, as a whole, we are easier to play against. And again, I think it's a lot of our midfielders don't have the defensive positional sense of where to be. So Bentancur's not really a 6. Bissouma, as Sean said earlier, when he came over from Brighton, I thought, that is it. We've got ourselves an absolute star in the making. And so inconsistent. But I think if we bring in a 6 who can sit, who's defensively... And the problem is that there's not many of them around. You know what I mean? The Rodri...
Sixes.
But
loads of sixes. Loads of sixes are out there. Loads of good players out there. So I did a video on like 12 of them last year that we could have got. You could go and get Maxence Caqueret, take advantage of Maxence Caqueret, the problem in France. Going Edison, if you want to break the record, go and get him from Atalanta.
We could have made a bid for Edison as well. That's the disappointing thing.
He'll cost you like 80, 90 million quid. But like
now it's too late. But when Paratici got hold of it, he was like, we could have got Dorgu that was at Man United as well, because I know we were suffering at left back. He's a player we could have in the summer. We were linked with him heavily, and we could have bought him for a cheaper than what Man United bought him for as well.
Didn't he move position though? Did he move positions? Didn't he move positions halfway during the season? And that's where...
Yeah, he went to right wing.
He went to right wing, didn't he? And started to
right wing. Yeah.
But we need that as well. We need that as well, though. Like, like what are we doing here? You know, like, we want versatility. If we're going to do more of the versatility, you should have gone and got Patrick Dorgu. What are we doing there? Left wing or right wing forward? Thank you very much. Take that all day long.
Also, we were looking at a Swedish player, and we still are looking at him. And I was meant to do a video on him ages ago. I've got him still. I want to play him one day. Maybe not
Larson.
Today. Swedish player called Hugo Larson.
Quality.
That's a number 6 we've been looking at. And also another Swedish player we're looking at the moment, not a 6 though, is Rooney Bargi. Rooney Bargi we've been looking at for quite a while as well. He's a Swedish 20-year-old, sorry.
What do you make of Adam Wharton, Ash? Would you take him or Jobe Bellingham from Sunderland?
Adam Wharton's funny because I brought him up last year when he was in the Championship. We did me and Marlon, we did a Championship video of a few players, and Adam Wharton was one of them. But for whatever reason, We didn't go for him. Palace did. And now look, the price is going to be humongous for him. Do you know what I'm saying? But there is a player that we are looking at, and he goes by the name of Jobe Bellingham. Like I
Good
did
timing, Sean. Good timing.
I am here to accidentally please.
Yeah, Jobe Bellingham. He's a central midfielder, but he's he's obviously he's the brother of. He's 19 years old, plays for Sunderland at the moment. England under 21s, 18 million. That's what it says in transfer market. Add another 10 or 15 million onto that. But he plays
50 million is the price. Apparently, 50 million is the price.
Yeah, so there you go. 3 positions he can fill. 3 positions, and I think again it's like if you believe in Ange Ball, we don't really play with a 6, and I think that's been an issue. Off topic, he don't really play with 6, but he plays centre, midfield, attacking mid, and defensive mid. But yeah, in that position, you can see he plays in that 4-2-3-1 at Sunderland, so he would be no stranger to playing under Spurs. There's his heat map as well, guys. So you can see, looks more like a left 8 to me, like where Madison occupies in. Quite similar to what you've seen with Ramsey as well for Aston Villa. Who
Look at that balance, though, mate. Look at that balance. You know what? With that, you put that picture back up for a second. If your lights were on in the background, I'm pretty sure I could make that out to be a butterfly. That heat map was like a butterfly there. When you got the kind of psychedelic effect of yourself and Jay's lights. Where's Jay gone, by the way? Did he drop?
I don't know.
Ago,
Yeah, I don't think
he could. Yeah, he could. Yeah, he no, his head. I think it might be his AirPods. Yeah, AirPods don't seem to work on EV Mux.
Yeah.
You boys are weirder than we are Tottenham TV with your stream links, man. Like, what are you guys doing? Like every time, like last night on We Are Tottenham TV, I hit this link and I suddenly downloaded 3 versions of like Zoom or something. I'm like, do you know what I'm going through with hacks, man? I don't want to download nonsense on it. And then you ask me to go on EV Mux. It's like something's EV mucking up, boys. EV mucking up.
But yeah, here's
you need to stop, Sean. You need to stop from StreamYard. Come to EV Mux.
Yeah, the future's that, man. It's the future, bro. It's cheaper as well. But here's there you go. There's some of the stats for him. So I look at his aerial 1. He wins a lot of his aerial duels. I like that. Clearances quite high. Blocks as well, so defensively quite sound. Interceptions not so high, tackles not too high against other midfielders in that position, but progressive passes received. First touch, for me, that's a good look. Touches in the penalty area from midfielder, really good. Successful take-ons is in the right percentile figure, in my opinion. Pass completion as well, good. And I'd say non-penalty XG decent as well on that one. But yeah, we are linked to Cardoso and Angel Gomez. Angel Gomez, especially because he is on a free. We won't go into that. Don't worry about the players that are on free. And wages as well. And the fact he's English. Oh, and the fact that he's under 21. Anyway, we move. So again, this is the English player, homegrown, under 21. Oh, no coincidence. Shots per 90 could be better. We are linked to a player called Andy Juve as well. Andy Juve plays for Lens, where Danzo came from. But we were also linked with Ramsey as well. So that's why I've got some of these players here. But let's have a look at him anyway. Some of his goals here. Top bins there. Putting his laces through it. There in the instep, finishing, getting on the end of things. That's Ange Ball for you right there. Being brave there, aggressive in the box, getting a header on. Good physical header in the box there. Gets his laces, a good laces finish there. Good save. And again in the box. Good bottom corner. Good finish. Off the crossbar. Curling shot. Ruspin shot. Little steppy. Right there in that right-hand half space. Getting that shot off. Header goal again. Quite useful in the air, I think. Quite physical and demanding there. Look. That little cut back and then top pins there. Again, lovely finish. Curling with the instep of his.
He likes that shot, doesn't he? Wow.
He loves that shot, yeah. Tackles, interceptions. I'll just go back a little bit. If you can see there against Papamata Sarr, I should put Bergvall in there. But Papamata Sarr, Andy Diouf, like I said, we're linked with Rodgers and Ramsey and Gomez. He ranks top out of all those players, even though it is a lower league. But I did this with Adam Waterman again a year ago, so it does make sense. But yeah, here he is winning that ball back in that kind of half space there, defending, recovery runs, good challenges, going to ground quite a bit here, but in that centre D, double challenge there, physical, not afraid to get himself dirty. I like that in the player, old school fashion, slide tackling, blocks a cross in there, and he's able to help his team out. Again, recovery runs are very, very good on this player, Jobe. And that's
Well,
one
he
thing I
does
like.
like to, he does like to get off his feet, though, doesn't he? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ!
that's his style of tackling. I think. Yeah, he's
Nah, he's
a
class
player that,
player, mate. Class
yeah,
player.
he literally covering ground, trying to stop the play, reading play again, getting in that tackle, getting nasty, bringing players down. But it's a thing where I think that style of midfielder, I think I wouldn't say he's a 6, but I'd say he's very combative in terms of winning his duels
I
and
think
getting
he'll have an
involved.
issue though with for his namesake though, and that'll be the main problem if he comes to the Premier League. Everyone's going to be expecting him to be
It's
just like
down
his brother.
to
That's why you're going to pay 50 million for him. Let's be honest, right?
yeah, it's true. And I think it's down to the club to kind of manage the expectations of the fan
But
base.
then
No one's
don't
really
come
good at
Spurs
that.
then.
You're not really good at that, though. I'll tell you that.
Expectations you have no control over. What, Tottenham fans? No, come on, what are we doing here?
He's going to be a monster, though, isn't he? Because he's got the combination right of technicality and physicality, which is the sort of meta you need for the. I mean, you've always needed that, but especially now with the height, the aerial duels for the Premier League now, it's so competitive. Everyone's looking for. That's why I feel like Angel Gomez. It's a no for me, just because. I mean, set pieces. I'm always nervy watching a set piece. He ain't taller than a hobbit. Like, you put him in, where are you going to put him in a set piece? Do you know what I mean? But with Jobe Bellingham, like, we need more physical presence. We need more physical players.
I don't know. We said that about Luka Modric, though.
Yeah, that is true. But I mean, especially for the 6. And this is the thing. Jobe Bellingham, I would love to have the leverage of signing Jobe Bellingham, but we've still got other positions we need to fit. I do think we need to sign, before we drop 50 mil on Bellingham, we need to sign a specialist like 6, and they're gonna be expensive as well. But 6 is gonna be there's as in demand as strikers now.
Well, like I said, my friend, Ange wants a player that can do it all. He wants a generalist. He doesn't.
And that's a problem, though. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's
That's such a problem. We need that. We need that protection, and we don't get it. And
also, by the way, he ain't going to be around. He might be here for the next 3 months. He might be here for the next season.
People that watch this.
Ange is not going to be here in 5 years' time, right?
Luke is here.
Manager.
Listen, Luke is here. Yeah, please, guys.
I'm not backing him for a 5-year tenure. I'm not.
No, I'm just saying, like the reality is, right? Like, no manager. If he was here for an entirety of Jobe Bellingham's contract, he would be up there with David Moyes, with Sir Alex Ferguson, with Pep Guardiola, with Jurgen Klopp, in that kind of special rung of people, Arsene Wenger, that have like been monumental length managers, and that's just not. It's not realistic with Tottenham, with Daniel Levy or anyone else, right? And even if we were to sell to Qatar, and no disrespect to anyone that's angiophile or whatever, but like it's not. It just doesn't happen, right? So you've got to think.
Would you call him
angiophile? Angiophile, like if you're an angiophile, like if you're like an anglophile, right? Anglophiles are like people that like English people. Angiophile people that like Ange Postecoglou. Yeah,
Simeon.
But all I'm saying is, right, is that you've got to be thinking about the next manager as much as the current one.
Listen. I'm going to carry on with my presentation.
Hurry up. I want to get onto the board.
yeah, for real. All right, cool. But yeah, here he is in possession. Looks quite safe, to be fair, in possession. Little cut back there, and again, is able to wriggle out from the back, playing out from the back. Here he's in the central position again, eating up ground. He's got 3 players around him, still able to progress it and find a player. I think it's a bit of an upgrade on the Papa Sarr, and it's got a bit more carrying ability than a Bergvall, in my opinion. So it's a slight different profile to a Bergvall, and an upgrade on a Papa Sarr. But hey, he protects the ball, uses his body, he's got a good physicality. There he is, able to step on it, tread on it, again, tread on the ball, and then find a pass forward. Little Cruyff turn there, use the half turn, uses his body to shield it, protects against 2 players, 3 players, gets on the floor, still has the ball again. Physicality, something that can suit the Premier League in that midfield, someone that's combative. Takes it from in different areas as well, not just centrally, but wide as well, and able to progress the ball as well as protecting the ball at the same time. And that's what I think Spurs lack at times. We're not safe in possession. He has a lot of ball retention abilities, as you can see on the screen, in the box, in the midfield, around the centre circle. He does like to tread on it. So that little skill, little V cut. I call it the V cut. He likes to do that as well. And again, little pirouettes he's doing on the ball, something I like in a midfielder when they're trying to protect the ball. First touch as well, really good to beat his man, and just able to accelerate him and then find a little through ball when he does get his head up. And here's his long balls, top, medium, you got it. He's the best out of everyone. Key passes as well, passes into penalty areas. He can demonstrate a range of passes across the box, into the box, diagonals, little chip faded passes, again, little cross balls, diagonal balls. I think are really special in the in any system, to be fair, to kind of open up teams. But here he is switching the play, getting balls over the top, and that's something we haven't seen from a lot of our players. So a good vision from the actual player, in my opinion. But yeah, there we go, man.
Have you got any of his mistakes there, Ange? Though, Ash, you got any of his like? I love highlight reels, but you never like you can turn anyone into it. I'd like to know where he's bad at, not just where he's good at.
So I'm not privy to Y Scout, but
Okay.
but that's why I brought up the metrics to compare him to someone like, for example, a Papamata Sarr, to see what he's good at, and versus maybe like a Ramsey who we were linked with, and a Gomez who we were also linked with, to see how he measures up against those players. And I looked at things like progressive carries. I looked at tackles and interceptions where he was quite high up, and then passing as well. So I think those are three staples in terms of a technical base that you need to be
for sure.
player.
He looks like the real deal. He does look like the real deal. But like I say, whenever you just watch it, and Y Scout, by the way, is not. I mean, it's great, but like obviously not everyone has access to it. But like YouTube videos. I remember you go and look up Ronnie Rosenthal. That you probably guys aren't old enough. Ronnie Rosenthal was a man in the 90s, right? Like you go and look up Ronnie Rosenthal's YouTube clips. You'll think this geezer was like prime Messi, and he wasn't.
I tell you what, against Southampton.
The hat trick against Southampton.
But what I do look at the first touch metrics. Like, how are they in progressive? So how are they in the progressive thirds with their first touch, and how is their first touch over like a 90 minute period? And he was the top out of all of those midfielders, and that's the thing I look at. Is a person, did they have a good first touch under pressure? Are they press resistant? Do you know what I mean? And then the types of passing would tell me about their football IQ. So if you're able to execute a through ball and you're at the top of the list in terms of through balls, that means you've got good vision. And if you're good at intercepting the play, that means you are able to read the game as well. So those are the type of metrics I look at. So that will determine if I think the player is worth his salt or not. But no, I do agree with you. You need to see what he's maybe not so good at. And
I'm a massive fan of Jobe Bellingham. Have been since he was at his previous job before Birmingham. I like the guy, and obviously he comes with a big pedigree. But the idea that Ange doesn't want specific players, the next manager probably will. And as much as I like the guy, I'd happily like trade him for Pape Sarr or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy to swap one about other promising youngsters, whatever, bringing him in. I also think you got to ship on Basuma, ship on Bentancur, if I'm honest. But I still think, regardless of all that stuff, you still need someone who's like just a monster six. I think that was.
I mean, I can bring up the sixes, but I don't think we have enough time because Marlon wants to get onto the.
I think also just greatly onto it. I think our next signings need to have some experience.
Yeah, massively.
Yes. I think that's where they need to be. I think they need to be full of experience, and also they need to come in. And I'm not saying he isn't an upgrade on what we've got, but we need players that are coming in and upgrading that 11, because they're the two things that have been thrown at the signings that we've got recently. How many have come in and instantly upgraded the 11, and how many have got the experience?
Any names?
Who me?
Names, Ash, whoever. Yeah, any names? Any like experienced first 11 straight in the team?
Let's go for Adam Wilson while we're there.
Yeah, but experience doesn't have to mean 32. If they've got 3-4 years in the Premier League, then that is experience, isn't it?
I like
Semenyo.
I like Stiller as a six.
Yeah.
I think he's quality in terms.
Oh, you want experience in the six? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, experience in the six. I think the six position's so specific where you need to be good, like laterally. I mean, in terms of horizontal movements, you need to be able to come across and protect the fullbacks and the centre backs. So obviously you place yourself in front of the two centre backs, but then you need to cover the left back and have the mobility to cover the left back, and equally the right back as well. So that, and you need to know when to. When I was watching the player, I forgot his name, isn't it Nico, that plays for Man City at the moment? Who they Gonzalez, yeah. So that's one thing that impressed me. His positioning was spot on, and I think that's why they were getting excited. Like mini Rodri, because he was able to know where to be, and his vertical movement in terms of picking up positions where he allowed Rico Lewis to bomb on. He allowed, and I'm looking at Pedro Porro with all his deficiencies. Can we get a player that can maybe hide some of his deficiencies? And I don't think we've got many players that cover up some of our other players' weaknesses. But then it's down to, I believe, the coaching as well, because there's times when you need to invert the fullback into maybe a 6 role, but do we have a fullback that can invert into the 6 role as well? And it comes down to the scouting system and profiling, because I think having 2 aggressive fullbacks, I think you should have one fullback and then one that's more defensive, that one that could sit next to your 6. And then the same with wingers. I think one winger should be inverted and one winger should be one that's able to go on the out wide and take you on. And one striker, centre forward, should be more like a centre forward where it links play. And then one centre forward, you should be able to bring on like a little bit different. He's able to be on the shoulder. Do you know what I'm saying? So you've got different in different states of the game. You can bring a player on, and that can change and swing the game state and change the momentum depending on what characteristics you want to change the game, in my opinion, or depending on what opposition you're playing.
I feel like Wharton, Stiller, is it Richie from Torino?
Richie.
I'm gonna
Torino, Richie's
I'm gonna butcher that pronunciation. But these types of players, I still feel like, I mean, I would 100% go and get them, and I'd even try and sell Bissouma and Bentancur and bring in one of them to have that sort of technical quality, ball retention, spraying the ball about, press proven, but also sort of like a deep line type player. And but I would still accompany that with a more destroyer 6. Either way, these players, I just feel like you need to complement them with physicality and find that balance between, I mean, that sort of structure. But I mean, that like Jobe Bellingham, an unbelievable young English talent. It would be so Spurs, and I feel like it's probably a segue to, I think, say Marlon wants to talk about like the ownership. It would be the most Spurs signing if we abandoned the 6 target at like that out and out number 6 and signed Jobe Bellingham because he's a potential player, because that doesn't fix. He's a quality player. He's probably better than Sarr at a moment, but that doesn't fix the problems right now. Yeah, it's like opportunistic. It doesn't solve the problems right now, which is the problem we've had for so many years.
Archie Gray, number 6. You know what's funny about the Archie Gray number 6? I just think like we've played them, as we said before, anywhere but the 6 role. I don't know if Ange trusts him, because I'm looking at players when they were younger, like Fabregas. He went straight into the system. I'm looking at Wilshere. He was 17. He went straight in. I'm looking at Wanyeri now. He's 17. He goes straight in the position. Archie Gray, obviously, he's 18. Like, he's older. He's played right back, left back, centre back. And now we're looking at Adam Wharton. So I'm like, are we really gonna? Does the manager really trust Archie Gray to play in the 6? Because he's had so much opportunity. So many times I was like, he's gonna do it. You got me. You're taking off that.
He doesn't play 6s though. That's the thing. Like we unless we win the Europa League, unless we win the Europa League, does anyone here believe that Ange Postecoglou will be managing this team next season? If we finish the season in 10th in the league and we get dumped out in the quarterfinals of the Europa League, does anyone see Ange here next season?
I think if he gets dumped out of the Europa League and then we don't finish in the top.
Wait. Does anyone think he can get 8th, like finishing like close to Europa?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Europa's not necessarily 8th, is it? Like it would be Conference League, but that's not even necessarily 8th. Like that's not necessarily 8th. Depends on what happens.
But that would take like, I think it was a 20-point swing or 21-point swing, which means out of our
we're 9 points. We're 9 points off of 8th right now. Fulham are in 9th and they're Fulham are in 8th and they're 9 points ahead of us.
Yeah.
But all right, cool. I'm just saying, I think it would take possibly us to get around those points. How many games do we need to win, and how many of those games are Fulham?
We haven't seen under Ranch.
We've got. I think it's 13 games left. I think 9 of them are against current top 10 teams.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, or 8 of them against top 10 teams or something.
That's right. Yeah.
But when you actually look at where we're playing and who we're playing and where we're playing them, I think we will finish. Depending on the fitness, depending on the volatility, I think we can easily get to 8th. But even then, like, I don't think he's done. I don't think he'll be here next season.
I think it also depends on what options. But
the summer's always a little bit of a wetter market. Like you wouldn't get rid of him now necessarily, but in the summer, you got Edin Terzic. You might be able to pay off. Look, I would think that
Iriola's got a year
Pochettino
left
would
in his
drop
contract.
USA like that if someone came in
Iriola's
and paid
got a
him.
year left on his contract, and he hasn't signed an extension.
Iriola very
Iriola
rarely
ain't the
leaves
guy, man.
contracts. He very
No, but
rarely
I'm
leaves
I'm
contracts.
just saying.
And also, I agree, I don't
Ariola
think
won't be here. Ariola will go somewhere else. He won't come to Spurs.
Yeah, but I'm
I
just
don't
saying.
even think we should go
I'm just
after him.
saying.
What's he like?
I'm just saying.
He's
Yeah,
just
no, I
flavour
hear
of the
it. I hear
month.
what
He's
you're saying.
flavour of the month.
Pochettino in, bring in Poch, give me the guitar, mate.
2026,
Get Harry
bro.
Kane back. Get
Harry
Pochettino
Kane,
back.
Poch back,
What's
yeah.
Ericsson? Ericsson's out contract. Well, fucking bring him in.
The last dance,
Get
man.
those back
The
together.
Tomlin, Alderweireld, Cole Walker be coming back from Milan. They're all coming back.
Yeah, it's like the 5 reunion tour. You know, like we're starting up again. We're getting Spice Girls back together. Can't wait. Cannot wait.
Yeah. Well, yeah, go on, Marlon. It's your time. Go on.
So, Sean, question was asked to you first. Someone in the chat said, do you think the Qatari ownership and everything that's been rumoured going around today is true?
Yeah, I do. I think there's definite 100%. I think that there's something going on in the background. Not because just the rumours that are happening right now, but because of there's so many reasons to think that there's something going on. First and foremost, the what happened with the share listing in December.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird as hell. Why then? Who was it? What was it for? What was the price? Why hasn't anyone spoken about it? That like red flag, like no clarification. Some people are saying it was £11 million. Some people are saying £35 million. No detail. Well, is that because there's a non-disclosure agreement signed? Possibly, probably. Who signed the non-disclosure? Well, Amanda Staveley, right? That came out back in 2-3 weeks ago. Who's she involved with? A consortium of Qataris or Middle Eastern businessmen. What else is going on? Daniel Levy, QSI, Qatar, right? QSI wants out of France, not just because of the French media money that is being
They've wanted that for a while,
stripped.
haven't they? Yeah,
They wanted out for a while. Like
yeah.
El Khalifi apparently is like being monitored by and pressurized by political influence in France by Macron or whoever it is. I don't know whoever's running things over there. They've already sold a slice of their stake in Paris. They want out, right? And then obviously, you know, you got the Qataris, the consortium that's going to be a conduit to something else. And Daniel Levy happens to be best mates with, or good mates with El Khalifi. Not good enough mates to get a preferential deal on the geezer that went to Moani, who's gone and smashed in 6 goals in 7 games since he's been there, right? But like but like there's 100. There's too many things going on. There's too many things going on. The Guardian newspaper, who, you know, say what you want about their politics or whatever, not interested in that stuff. But like, they're not someone that like. It's not like the Boot Room or Team Talk. It's the Guardian. Right? They've got a little bit of journalistic. No disrespect to the Team Talk. I read your shit every day, and if you happen to drag up a ridiculous rumor, you better believe I'm going to be talking about it on my channel. I don't care if it's clickbait. But when it comes to the Guardian, you can have like, you know, there's a little bit more integrity to their situation. And they were talking about you know, Daniel Levy hanging around for 3 or 4 years, which I think makes sense. The expert thing in the room, I don't know what they're saying he's an expert in. Is he? If they need his expertise in all things off the pitch, then what does that tell you really about the caliber of their local knowledge and stuff? Probably not great things. If they're looking for his expertise in footballing matters, then you've got more problems with the new than you did with the old. But also, I mean, I made a list earlier for the show I did around like where's the value, where's the benefit? Because obviously, like £500 million coming in as an investment into a football club, people think, oh, that means that money can go straight into the player trading. It can't, right? It can't. There's so much misinformation in the minds of some that think that new investment equals new transfer spend. But obviously, there's loads of things that they can do with regards their investment if they were to do a takeover that could result in a significant uplift in transfer budgets. They could pay off the debt, which would save you 30 million quid a year in interest. They could do the naming rights with the APT, the Associated Party Transactions rules that are up in the air now because of Manchester City. There's probably 25, 30 million pound a season there. They could obviously finance the hotels and the infrastructure stuff with another 10 million pound in revenue there that could go into the transfer budgets. Other sponsorship deals. Doesn't just have to be shirt sleeves, right? You know, with the new rules, or the old rules that are now being reversed, you can like sponsor your left toe if you want to, essentially, right? You could have like sock sponsors. You could have any sponsors you want. And if Qatar was to come in with a different mindset, and then there's other things going on with, like, you saw it in I don't know, this geezer Hubba Bubba something or other from the Middle East, who came out with a tweet earlier on saying that, like, they have ambitions to, they'll buy Tottenham, but it has to be on the precursor of an underground station. I don't believe that for a second, but do I believe that there's any truth to it? Yeah, 100%. I think that Daniel Levy has to be careful, because if he doesn't take advantage of any particular interest now, there's rumours that there's another top 4 club that also want to that are also open-minded to selling. It's probably going to be Liverpool, and you better believe that if a team like Qatar want to buy a top team in the Premier League, and it's not just Tottenham that are up for sale, then they'll probably go in a different direction, because there's lower hanging fruit to squeeze there. So, do I think there's truth to it? Yeah, I do. Well, a long-winded answer, but yes, I do think there's truth to it.
Is there truth this behind Abramovich wanted to buy Tottenham originally before
Apparently.
he went to
Yeah,
and
apparently.
was there truth as well about Ted Bowley? Was Ted Bowley looking at Spurs as well before he went over to Chelsea as well?
Yeah.
Or is no one, yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a possibility that, like that Sean said, that we might miss this one? Like, is anyone thinking that, Rob, we might not do the sell or the part sell, or whatever it is, because it's meant to be in stages or something? Like, it could take up to 3 years or 5 years, or
so it depends.
Yeah, phase buyout, because if it is PSG and QSI, for example, then they can't just come in and buy anyone anyway, because they have even though they're divesting from Paris, they still have a majority ownership. And if one has to buy, one has to sell. But that would be that. But the rumors are that it's not QSI, that it's a consortium. But
yeah, that's what I heard as well.
In reality, it's all like one hand shakes the other, or one hand washes the other. Maybe more pertinent with regards to washing when it comes to money from certain parts in the world.
The one thing I would take with like pinch of salt though is the timing of everything.
Just going to say that
gaining so much sort of momentum, and all of a sudden now, and I do believe, and there has been rumours for a long time that sort of low key we're open to investment or selling the club, but it's right now we're getting more rumours around this time where there's been a protest. Like a couple of days ago, there was rumours that came out the day before the protest. Like, I do take this with a pinch of salt, but I'm going to gaslight myself and like all the way until Ali Gold comes out next week and says there's no truth in the Qatari to like taking over Spurs. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna.
Don't you dare take away the opportunity for us to gaslight you, okay?
No,
you don't gaslight yourself.
Mate,
we gaslight you. That's how it works, bro.
If I'm living in a world where we get bought, mate, fucking go ahead, mate. Gaslight me. I'm so malleable right now, but.
On that though, just on that, if we got bought and the sense is Daniel Levy does have to stay for the next 3 to 4 years, and they phase him out, would people accept that?
Yeah, of course they would.
Yeah,
have to, innit? Have to. There's no other choice. There's no other way to get it. Like, we know there's an end date, so you can plan. You can start preparing the party and. Sorry. We can start. Laying the roses down, getting the eulogies out of the
way. Listen, mate. I went around that protest. Actually, to be fair, the protest was awesome, was excellent. Like, everyone was super respectful, and like there was really great takes. And I challenged people on their takes and stuff. But everyone had their own versions of why they want change and stuff. Then I get into the stadium, and I'm going to walk up. I've got like a long walk up to my seat, and I was like, I'm going to ask everyone like score predictions. I was just doing this. And then I walked down this row, and then there's two geezers. They were nice guys, to be honest. I had a good chat with them afterwards, but they didn't even listen to the question. I was like, "What's your score prediction for today?" And they went, "Yeah, Levy out." And I was like, "Oh, okay. That wasn't the question, but the answer is Levy out. Let's find out why." And I asked them, and then I said, like, would anyone? Who do you want instead? And they said, "Oh, anyone." But they said like, he's the problem, whatever. And I said, it's a Jim Ratcliffe, that sort of person that you want, a profile like that. And the guy went, "No, I'll take a Harry Redknapp until the end of the season." And I was like, "What, as owner?" Like, no, as manager. I was like, "Well, what the owner?" And he goes, "Oh, anyone but him will do." I was like, anyone but him will do. And that scares me. That scares me that there's sections of the fan base that would have anyone but Daniel Levy.
Donald Trump, yeah? Donald Trump.
Yeah, but I think for that one, Sean, and I'm probably in that camp, is the problem I've got is the last 25 years is the same message, the same mentality, and it's breaking that behind the scenes mentality of, because I know a lot of people have a problem with Jim Radcliffe, but if I'm looking at Man United fans, I'd go, well, you lot told us the Glazers were terrible. Jim Radcliffe has gone in there and he's now destroying everything. Well, not destroying it. He's basically doing everything the Glazers has done wrong for how many years. But you don't like it as a fan base. You need to make up your mind which one you want.
No, exactly that, right? Yeah. But on top of that, like I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't follow United closely enough, but I know that there was general, probably as much apathy, if not more, in at least the online space. And I do think that the online space is similar to like away fans that have enough loyalty points to go to like Bournemouth away. Like in order for you to have enough points to get a ticket in the allocation for Bournemouth away or for Tamworth or whatever, you're probably someone that has to go to Galatasaray away on a Thursday night. And so I think there's a 100% correlated that the amount of time, energy, attention, money, whatever that you're putting towards your football club is directly correlated to people that feel anti-Levy, right? I completely subscribe to that. Even in the YouTube space, the amount of people in the comment sections, if you're willing to like spend your evening listening to donuts like me, or not, you guys aren't donuts, but like, you know, people like us, just fans, have an opinion. Like if you're going to spend that much of your time, your free time doing this, then you're probably like really invested in Tottenham, like as your energy, right? And so I think there's a direct correlation to that. But I don't think it necessarily extends to people that go to the stadium. I was really impressed with the amount of numbers that turned out. I was wrong, by the way, for what it's worth on my video. I said, and it was just from my viewpoint from the back. I said, I think there's probably 800 people here or whatever. But then when I saw that video of the drone, or if someone was up a lamppost, I don't know how they got that picture. But either way, like I was like, no, that's clearly like a couple of thousand, maybe even more, right? It was really, really good numbers. But ultimately, if you're Daniel Levy and you're trying to spin that into your own way, how do I get away with this not looking horrendous? He's probably going to sit there and say there's 63,000 people at the stadium, maybe 3,000, whatever, were there. You take away the away section and you're still going to land on about 5% of people that were protesting. So like 95% of people didn't want to, weren't participating.
But you know what's mad about that stat as well? Because obviously there's more than 63,000 Spurs fans.
Spurs fans,
like, I'm trying to say. And even like me, I actually went to go to the protest and got there for 4 o'clock. I was pissed, but obviously I had personal things why I was late. But anyway, when I went down there and I sat in the bar close by, because I never had a ticket, I met up with few people and they were also like myself. They wanted to go to the protest, but they just missed it. They just missed out. And they were like, we just wanted to know where it ended so we could join on the end of it. And so next time, I think there's going to be more people. And I think there was a lot of people that saw.
Do you think the protest will get as much attention though, Ash? Like this particular time, you have the combination of like the team doing appallingly, and you have all of the PR, the BBC, the Sky Sports, everyone talking about it, obviously all over YouTube and Twitter and stuff. Does it get as much attention next time? I don't know.
Timing is essential, and I think the Spurs change for Spurs. I think they're sitting down now and they're calculating how is the best way to kind of go about their
Man United was always going to be the best game to do it. I said this from day one. Man United brings the most attention from the media, and that was the reason why they had to do it against United and get the attention that day. Because when it comes to watching football across the world, Man United still bringing the numbers no matter what. And even when it's a Sky game or anything like that, it'll be Man United at the top of the charts, just ahead of Liverpool. Those are the two biggest clubs still across the world. So for change for Spurs now, it is about what the next move is, and they've got to be clever about it.
They've got to be clever.
Very clever.
But just on that notion though, like when you see like however many 3,000, maybe 4, whatever, like and like I say, I did as much as I could trying to get people's opinions. And a lot of people were kind of saying similar things as to what I hear quite often, which is like, you know, I said, what sort of owner do you want? What sort of profile of new owner? You haven't got to give me a name. Just what do you want? And I hear the same sort of things. You know, someone that cares about football, someone that's like subjective stuff that's very difficult to kind of pin down what it is that you really want.
But didn't that Irish guy give you the best answer though? The one about King Charles.
No, he gave me that was a really great. It was a brilliant absolute bar, right? That he dropped around like what pissed him off. But with regards, like when I asked him, okay, well, what sort of new owner do you want?
Yeah, I saw that.
He said things like, you know, I don't care about Beyonce, and I don't care about this and that. But you want someone that's going to spend money but like a new owner can't just come in and just say, well, at least under the current rules, although we don't know what that looks like in the future, but under the current rules, a new owner can't just come in and just spend money. You have to create the money internally, right? So you have to find mechanisms to raise the bar.
Basically, what Ratcliffe is doing.
Well, but what Ratcliffe is doing is if Daniel Levy did what Ratcliffe has done in the last 3 months, there would be uproar. It would be insane. Like he stripped. First of all, he sacked 300 people that are on minimum wage, right, as a way to cut costs. And on top of that, he took away the Christmas bonuses of all of the stewards that earn 50 quid a game. Like these people spend like 6 hours, 7 hours at the stadium, lying on the ground in the freezing cold sometimes, and then they go. Like, I think they had a. I don't know the specifics, but I think the policy was
Spurs over a period though, because people won't know. People won't see what Levy's done behind the scenes over a period where Radcliffe has had to come and do it short term, and unfortunately, we probably haven't seen where stewards and stuff, or back in our day, they weren't getting paid as many. There'd be Christmas parties I know staff weren't getting.
I know.
I mean, but I don't know. I mean, maybe you're speculating, right? But the speculation also extends to this notion of like, you know, what Ash was just saying. No disrespect, Ash, but like you're saying, yeah, and I heard Johnny saying it as well earlier on my channel, right? And I love Johnny to pieces, but he was making this assertion that he spoke to a couple of people that sat next to him in the stadium, and they said, "Oh, you know, I would have gone. I thought it was going to be a shit show like it usually is. I wish I had gone. Now I'll go to the next one." And then that's the basis of the argument that it wasn't 3,000. In reality, it would have been 30,000 or something else, right? Like that kind of notion. Similar. I've seen other people saying things like, you know, you forget there's loads of people that are overseas that can't get to the protest. And so what are we now assuming that everyone that lives outside of North London is Levy out, or are we going to use the same like logical metrics that if it's 5% of people that were at the stadium that weren't really asked to do anything other than like just walk 100 meters up the road, but they didn't do it? Are we like making this logical assumption that everyone that didn't go, that could have gone, would have been Levy out? But like, I think there's just massive leaps of like illogical like explanations there. But that's not me. I'm not sitting here in any way diluting the value of what, because I support it, by the way. I think it's important. I just don't subscribe to the notion. I don't share the resentment towards the owner that a lot of people do. But, you know, so Jim Ratcliffe, right? I don't know if Daniel Levy's done that in the past. We haven't heard about it. I know we did hear about the fact that he put everyone on PPP or whatever it's called back in COVID, right? But then everyone else did it as well. But the notion that if Daniel Levy had stripped people that have got a 10 game attendance as stewards a bonus, a Christmas bonus, if Daniel Levy did that, there would be the fan base would go apoplectic.
It would never be.
If Daniel Levy sacked 300 people that are minimum wage and that have to supplement their diets by tokens, food tokens, because they don't get paid enough by the club, and they're sacking those people rather than the irrelevant fat at the top. Like if Daniel Levy did that, come on, let's be reasonable here, right? The reaction would be awful. So my point at that whole rounded point, and I'll shut up, is this notion that anyone but Daniel Levy will do includes outcomes where you have people like Sir Jim Ratcliffe in charge of Tottenham Hotspur, and I think that's dangerous and it's just wildly scary that some fans think that.
Yeah, but we don't know what the end of Jim Ratcliffe is going to be at this present moment, because at the moment they're at the infancy stage.
That's the other part of the narrative, mate. Is that if someone does come in and fucking like absolutely screws up, there'll be some people that will go, well, let's give him 25 years like Daniel Levy had. This
is the thing, because like Jim Ratcliffe is doing, he's early on. We can't use Jim Ratcliffe as an example because he's so early on in what he's trying to do. In 2-3 years' time, all of this, people will forget if Man United start winning titles and start getting back on the bandwagon. All the Man United fans are gonna be like, oh, forget all the stuff. Isn't
that the same? Isn't that the same for this whole change for Tottenham movement? If Tottenham go and win the next 4 games and then get past Sociedad or AZ Alkmaar, is the change for Tottenham movement also not going to dilute?
No, well, it won't dilute unless I reckon the only way it dilutes is if they win the Europa League, because I think at the present moment,
if the next home game is, if there's a change for Tottenham movement, and then I'm not sure when
that's going to be where City or midweek. That's
a Tuesday night. Okay, so that's probably not going to happen, right? But okay, but so let's say it's in a month's time, the next one that's organised. If Tottenham have gone on and won every game between now and then, do you think and we're punching back up into 10th in the 9th or whatever in the league, and we're in the last 8 of the Europa League?
Mm.
Do you think that people? I just personally believe that the human psychology is what have you done for me lately, and there's going to be less appetite for resentment if things look a little bit rosier in a month's time.
This is why they got to be clever in what they do. The next move, it's always got to be strategic and what they do next. Because at this present moment, everyone is feeling the exact same way.
Mm.
If you are right, if results start to turn and go upwards, look, the team still got supported on Saturday. Even when Michael Dawson come out and said we won the next 2 games. So there is a point of their message is doesn't matter. We protest off the pitch, but support the team on it.
Remember some of the away fans, we beat Southampton 5-0. It was an emphatic win.
Yeah.
But that was the loudest Levy out chant there was. So there is a
again,
case.
though, but that goes back to my point about the like. First of all, you're not going to, if you're watching that game and Southampton were they 3-0 down at half time, 4-0 down at half time? I think was it half time? Yeah, 5-0 down at half time. Right? You're not going to hear any chants from the Southampton fans. And then the people that are at the Tottenham game that have got enough points to be able to get a ticket to that through the allocation. As I say, there's a direct correlation between your attention span towards Tottenham, your investment in Tottenham financially, emotionally, whatever else, and your apathy towards Daniel Levy. So, like when you've got zero noise from the Southampton fans because you're 5-0 down, and all you can hear is the away end, and those people happen to be more directly likely to be anti Levy, then you're going to hear that song a lot. And it's a great song, by the way. It's an absolute banger. That Kulusevski, like fair. Whoever come up with that, fair play.
I really wish they changed it to THFC though.
Yeah, it probably makes sense.
The irony of it, we're using a player that Daniel Levy bought. Just like,
but you know what? How bad's Decky going to feel? Because right now Decky's running on fumes, and he's going, "Yeah, but these guys love me." No, sorry, Dayan. It's not really about you. That song, mate.
Well, he did bring up the board in his one of his presses, isn't it? When they were struggling for players and bodies at that point. So maybe that message did get home to him, and some of the players. But yeah, man, that's just my thoughts on it.
Luke, Will, what's your thoughts on the whole Qatari? Do you think it's just a smokescreen because of everything that's been happening, or is it a case of there is concrete rumours, but we'll see what happens?
Go on, Luke. You start us off.
I think Levy's even come out in interviews and said that he's open to investment. So it don't really surprise me that people are interested. And there's been talks about this for years that it was going to happen eventually. So I definitely think that there is some sort of truth behind it. I do agree. I think that the timing of it is impeccable. We're pretty good with releasing stories that fit or dampen narratives or whatever you want to call it. So I definitely think there is. And the other flip side to that, people saying about why would he keep Levy? And I mean, if I had a lump sum of money and I wanted to protect that money, then Levy's your guy. He's not going to overspend. He's going to financially run it very, very well. He's probably not going to push you onto the titles and everything, but he could definitely set a foundation for you to push on. So if you've someone who's got a load of money and, like we've already discussed, you've got part of ownership in another business, another football club, so you can't just come in and take sole ownership. I think it probably makes sense to have Levy as your man until you can fully take over.
On that, I think another key thing, and this is why I don't see it as a major issue. I know a lot of people will, but Levy has a massive say at the Premier League table because he's the longest serving guy in that room. And some people, whenever you read what's happened at the Premier League meetings, do you really want, if you're coming as new owners, you kind of lose that. No matter who you are, Man City don't have the biggest voice. It's Daniel Levy at the present moment, so you kind of
that's problematic though.
Yeah,
massively problematic. Sorry to jump. Sorry, mate. I know I'm talking too much, but for me, I think that I think a lot of us say Ange. One of the issues with Ange is that he's sort of built that little micro hill to die on, which is it's who we are, mate. He didn't need to do it, but the fact that he said it, he's then got to continue with his ethos and his philosophy of football that plays a certain way that's going to be found out and all that stuff. I think Daniel Levy's the poster boy for FFP and PSR, right? And he's the guy that's the champion of all those things that the 15 clubs are on board with, and the other 5 dissidents that are not really on board it. All of a sudden, the rules around that are looking flaky. He can't really get on board jumping through the loopholes that are gapingly wide open and obvious for everyone to see. Because if he starts like selling the hotel back to the club or selling it and then leasing it back, or if he starts, engaging in those dark arts, then he looks like an absolute hypocrite. As much as I would like him to, but he's been the poster boy for all of that financial fair play stuff, and that makes a rod for your own back, right? Because you then can't do the things that other clubs are finding it very obvious and easy to do, because then you're the guy that's saying one thing but you're doing another. It's double speak, and that's a problem. Just like I think that Ange Postecoglou saying it's who we are, mate, was a problem, an unnecessary problem.
Will?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into like the finances and all the detailed stuff, because I mean, I'm still like prepubescent, and it's a little bit out of my I'll be drowning if I start talking about. But
is that bum fluff above your lip there, mate? Then
I've been forcing puberty for the last like 2 months. So desperate. But with Levy, I mean, I can't even remember the last time like, from a personal standpoint, I can't even remember the last time Spurs won a trophy, because I was like 4 years old. I was watching Thomas Tenkin and putting crowns up my nose when we won the League Cup, like back in 2008. So like
Great times.
I'm 20, but I've given like so much of my life to Tottenham. I've got nothing back, and I know everyone else can relate. And it's like, I'm tired of feeling so pessimistic season after season, being like, there's not going to be any change. So like, we can't, from a personal standpoint, like, no one knows if we get taken over by whoever they are. Sometimes, like, you don't know how they're going to be. You don't know whether we're going to still be successful. That's out of our control, and that's out. It's a conversation to be had. But like right now, I just want change. Like, I just want, because I know for sure we're not winning anything under Levy. So like, it's like stick or twist, mate. I'm twisting all the time, so I can just get that excitement back and just be optimistic. And then we start seeing, who knows what we'll see? Maybe we'll be in dreamland. Maybe we'll be like, oh, fucking hell.
Can I ask a question? Like, how many finals have we been in under this ownership? Does anyone know?
6, isn't it?
6 owners
finals.
and is it 6? Sorry,
19.
6 finals and 12 semi-finals. I think.
Yeah, I think it was like 19 semis and finals.
Yeah. Which I think the club threw that stat out, and you're like, well, it doesn't really help you. It kind of goes against you. I get we got there, but it just shows you that you're basically saying your mentality in the club is that we can't get over the line. Well done.
That's not true. That's not true.
The
argument is
they've lost them all.
The owner's not responsible for what happens on the pitch, right? The owner's not responsible for what goes on. And bear in mind that one of those finals we lost on penalties to Manchester United in 2012.
But mentality,
Manchester City.
That's mentality.
It's mentality, because Manchester United probably went into that knowing that they were going to win that final because they got a winning mentality.
Right. Well, that harks back to this notion, like Hugo Lloris. When that
the watches.
Oh, mate, that pissed me off. That pissed me off more than most things in my life. And I've gone through a lot in the last 18 months, right, with family health and hacking and stuff. I've gone through a hell of a lot, and yet when I saw Hugo Lloris come out with that absolute dross, I was like, what are we doing here listening to this bozo? He's saying there was an insufficient despondency amongst the team, the players, after we lost that final. We went to a party, right, or whatever. And I'm like, and you're blaming the owner for the energy in the dressing room, and you're the longest serving captain in my lifetime in our club's history. In my lifetime. And you are saying that it's the owner that sets the standard of what happens in the dressing room. He ain't showering with you, bro. He ain't the guy that's mocking your fucking 2-inch penis. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you are the captain of the football club. You're the guy who sets the standard on the pitch. And by the way, you're the guy that walked off the pitch against Newcastle at half-time and never came back out. How dare you throw anybody under the bus but yourself for the lack of leadership on the pitch?
No, but Martin Keown kind of said something the other day, which I found really interesting. It was like, okay, yeah, the ownership don't have what goes on in that dressing room, but they buy the players who have the mentality to get them in that dressing room and are able to take. He's basically said it was someone had parked in a disabled spot in one of the Arsenal changing rooms. Never happened again because they literally went after him. So
Who went after him?
the player like Tony Adams, Keown, and all them like at the time. I don't know who it was.
Right.
He didn't say who it was, but he said
Yeah.
the mentality came from what happened was the board would give us the players in that dressing room with the mentality to go and get over that line. Wenger only played a little part, but the problem, and this is where it comes down to
such a cop out.
Yeah, but this is what the players say.
At what point does anybody other than the CEO have any accountability for anything by that level?
But it's about the players and the mentality that you bring down in that club, because
no, but it's not that you're a footballer. You're a footballer. Daniel Levy
doesn't work like that, Sean.
No, it does, mate. Come on, bro. Like it's a massive organisation that has fingers in so many pies, and you're saying that basically the notion that the buck stops at the top is saying that nobody other than Daniel Levy is responsible for anything that happens at the
football club. Why can Luka Modric go from doing what he did, then going to Real Madrid, where it's a winning mentality?
But on that basis, how did he get to Real Madrid in the first place?
Yeah, so because he's still going to run trophies there.
Oh, he went to the best club in the world and won trophies.
Yeah, but look at the mentality of that club. If you look at the mentality,
it's the biggest club in the world, mate. It's the biggest club in the world.
Okay,
this notion that the buck stops at the top. First of all, it's bonkers because basically it abdicates any responsibility or accountability on anybody else, which is ridiculous, right? Because especially the guy at the top ain't kicking the ball, right? But on top of that, if the buck does stop at the top, then so does the buck for all that's been good at Tottenham. And in Daniel Levy's tenure, 6 finals, 12 semi-finals, our highest league finish since 1961 twice, one trophy, but a penalty shootout. So Daniel Levy's responsible for a penalty shootout, is he? Come on now. It's a ridiculous argument. It's ridiculous.
I think it shows me something. I think it shows me something completely different to all of that. I think what it shows me is that Daniel Levy has taken us to a point, but he's never taken that last step.
Yeah, the last step.
He's never taken us to that last step.
Do you know what that last step requires, though, Luke? That last step requires beating oil nations.
Yep.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does, mate. Yes, it does.
Okay. So Sean, you're going to sit there and go 95% of those teams have won. Yeah,
92%. 92%. 5 teams, 92%.
Okay. Yeah. Only 42% of the time we've been knocked out by top 6 clubs in the League Cup, and 50% in the FA Cup, and 50 in the League Cup. So actually, 46% of the time. No, 46% of the time means that we've been knocked out by a top 6 club, which means the other lot we've been knocked out by clubs that are not oil. So
do you know what else? Do you know what else that stat that you didn't go into there? Do you know which Premier League club, which club in the history of in the last 25 years, in fact, in the last 75 years, I'll extend it. Which team has drawn Premier League opposition more than any other team in the entire English football system? You know what team that is?
I mean, it sounds like a Spurs thing.
It's a Tottenham thing. It is Tottenham.
Excuses.
Tottenham. Yeah, you go. Explanations. Excuses.
Hang on.
Hold on.
But we were able to win.
This notion that nobody else apart from the top 6 teams can ever knock anybody out of a cup is not true. The fact that everybody in the Premier League, even Liverpool, Liverpool, the only time that a team won the league and went invincible was Arsenal. Right? In that one season. Every other season, the team that has won, one of those top 5 teams, they have been beaten by teams that are not in the top 6 team. And on any given Sunday, any particular team can win. So I'm sorry. Again, this like
but then you can't go. But then you can't go to that 95% of win one, because we're going out there and we're not being able to compete with these teams for some reason.
What? Yeah, for some reason. What's the reason? It ain't Daniel Levy. It's money in football. It's Roman Abramovich. It's the Abu Dhabi group. It's the inability for the lawmakers to set rules. That stuff. I know people don't care about that stuff, Marlon. People don't give a shit because you know what? I care about Tottenham. You know what? For Tottenham to win, 19 other teams have to lose. So you might not care, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have an influence. And you know what? If you go through the annals of history, and I have done loads of data analysis on it, loads of research, and I've done videos about it, you can go and see that there's a very common theme over the last 75 years. It's fewer and fewer teams win, and the teams that do have more and more money and more access to resources and more ability to bend the
Does
rules. And you
Newcastle-
might not like it, but it's just a fact.
If Newcastle win, well, are they included in that as well? Because technically they are oil. Would you say Newcastle's a part of that? If they beat Liverpool,
I wouldn't use Newcastle. If Newcastle win the Carabao Cup this year, I wouldn't use them to prove my point, because I don't think that they have been a beneficiary of that money just yet.
And also in the FA Cup, because you see that it's only Man City. They're the only ones in that kind of competition that have oil money. If they don't win it and another team wins it, is that argument then debunked?
No argument is debunked on one season. But what's the specifics of the question? If Newcastle or someone else who's not part of the oil wins the FA Cup this year?
Yeah, wins the FA Cup, yeah.
If a team outside of the top,
because by your logic, you needed the oil money. You needed the oil money to get over the line, basically.
There's no way I said. I didn't say the oil money. I said the oil. I'm just saying. All I've ever do is I do a fact. 75% of all trophies in the last 12 years have been won by two teams. That's a fact.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
92% of all teams that have won in the European system, at least, in the Premier League, in the English system, have been won by 5 teams. Right. 2 of those teams were nowhere before Roman Abramovich came in and reset the rules. And you know what? I don't even blame them people. And I actually hold Daniel Levy's feet to the fire about his inability to dance through the rules. He's got the same access to the same loopholes that everyone else does, and he doesn't engage in them. So I think
I'm just saying, is that null and void if like one of those teams right now?
Because there's always anomalies, Ash. There's always Leicester was the anomaly. People go, well, what about Leicester? I'm like, okay, fine. That's the exception to the rule. But what happened to Leicester, right? Leicester got relegated 2 years later and have only just come back up, and they went down again, and now they're back up and they're going to go down again, right? So you might...
Okay, cool. Sorry, go on. Finish.
The last thing I'll say is that the other... So there's only been 12 teams that have won anything in Daniel Levy's time, right? 5 of them are the teams that we know about, and the other 7... There's Leicester have won 2, and then there's 5 other teams that have won 1, and Tottenham are one of them. The other 4 teams, Wigan, Birmingham, Middlesbrough, and Wigan, Birmingham, Swansea, I think it was, and Middlesbrough. If you go and look at the actual pathways to the final that they took part in, they played 1 Premier League team in that whole pathway to the final. Usually in the final, sometimes the semi-final.
But let's take Portsmouth when they won it. The one team that they beat on the way was Manchester United. Who did Manchester United beat in the previous round to play Portsmouth? Tottenham Hotspur.
Okay.
So why is that not? So why comes Portsmouth can get over the line, but Spurs couldn't?
Because on any given Sunday, anything can happen at Marlon. Exactly. Is that what we're doing now? Exactly. Are we regressing?
But this is what you're saying. So anything can happen. So why
on any given Sunday? But
it seems to be consistent that Spurs are not on. I never had that consistent.
It's not consistent, Sunday, right? It's not consistent, bro. Like if you're comparing Tottenham's individual consistently flawed logic, and then you're picking one team that did it once and didn't do it ever again, and where are Portsmouth now? And then you're pointing. Well, let's stop talking about Portsmouth. I'm going to use Portsmouth to defend the point that you're making, or to argue against the point for that year.
I'm just asking you.
I'm never going to go back to Portsmouth again. You know why? Because Portsmouth off down to the Championship and barely ever came back, right? And then you go, well, let's talk about Wigan. One example.
There's a Klopp's argument, but I said this to you before, and I just feel like, I don't know if it's just me again, but I felt that there was an opportunity where we could have got past Liverpool, in my opinion, where we were like on a cusp of doing better than them, and I felt like Liverpool swung it around, and then now we're nowhere near Liverpool, and then Arsenal, obviously we were above them for a little piece. We were doing better than
Arsenal,
them.
the team that have never been relegated ever.
Yeah, that team. But I just felt like for me, we had a chance where I don't know.
Liverpool, there was the team that had never been relegated ever.
Yeah. So I just felt like there was a tipping point.
That's fine. That's fine. It's a great point, Ashmatic. It's a great point you make. Right, we were on the cusp. Cusp.
Right, go on.
If the buck stops at the top, why were we on the cusp? Because of that parasite owner that we have, yeah. Because that's the logic. That's the logic.
No. That's the logic. So as Luke said, Daniel Levy has got us to a certain point, and that we cannot argue with. No one can argue with this. Daniel Levy has got us to a certain point, but it's that taking that extra step to get us over that line where he has not delivered. And it's not like none of you lot are not paid. Yeah. And it's that risk. You've always said he's risk. He doesn't take risks in certain moments.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
and that's probably where a lot of fans are now. Like, I think the problem is that Daniel Levy has raised the bar of the profile of the club, which means we're going to raise our expectations. So when we raised it, he's then got to act in a certain way to what he's built the club to be. And we're not.
When do you think the expectations were at their peak? Was it after the Champions League final? Do you think everyone then went, now's the time?
I think we were in that title race, to be fair. Like,
Poch, it will always be the Poch.
A couple of years earlier, right? So
it'd be the Poch,
17,
yeah.
18, 19.
But we all know what happened after that. COVID happened, and everything else happened after that. We couldn't really.
It's interesting. I'm glad you're conscious of that, because I never hear anyone else mentioning that.
No, because you have you have to be. You have to put it in. But the problem then becomes the stadium's now been open properly for 3-4 seasons. And 5 seasons. So I think what it is now, people, where we are now paying the premium price, fans' expectation is, okay, I want to see a premium product on the pitch. And in the last 5 years, a lot of fans...
It's not how pricing for products work, though.
I get it, but a lot of people, if you're going to be sitting there going, and we are the most expensive, Arsenal having the same problem, people expect a certain amount back from the football team to go and produce. And I think that's where Daniel Levy now has got stuck, in the sense of, we're seeing the concerts, we're seeing everything being done that he's promised, and all that stuff that happens off the pitch needs to happen. No one's saying it doesn't need to happen. I know some people say it doesn't.
A lot of people say it doesn't.
But
a lot of people say it doesn't.
Look, but it does. Look, and the one thing I've always said, you're right in, that stadium's empty for most of the year. As long as there's something in it.
So many people that used to be, or that are still massive Levy outers, they deny it now, but they used to be like, what are we doing with the Beyonce? What are we doing with the NFL? There used to be a football club over there, right? By the way, that was a phrase that was used by, was it Berkshire or Berkshire? That was back in the 70s, that was said, right? It was 25 years of non-Levy economics that were employed when that statement, and between that statement being said and when he took over. But listen, I agree with you. I'm glad you guys all seem to be really reasonable minded about this stuff. But there's a lot of people that used to say that Beyonce was a problem, or that events were a problem. Now that the science is settled on that stuff, right? The science is settled on that, and now the goalposts are moved. I never said that. You did. I remember being on streams where that was a part of the problem. Now it's not, because the science is settled on whether it's valuable or otherwise, right? But I agree. Listen, I don't disagree with you that maybe he's taken us as far as he can. I've always said, I support the protest, and B, I'm happy for a new owner to come in. I just don't subscribe to this notion that anyone but him will do, and I don't subscribe to this notion that that he's the. I know, Ash, you kind of like balked when I said the word parasite. I didn't mean you were suggesting that. I just used that as that's a word that's banded around, right? Like he's some sort of bloodsucker. I don't see that, And like I say, I think that there's every chance that we could get worse, unless we're very careful. And that's why I'll examine the merit of any particular person coming in. And people like Qatar, whilst they might want to come in, and even if they have all of the ambition to do all of the things that I mentioned regarding, naming rights and stuff, that's all great, but there's still massive political considerations that we all have to have, right? Like we should be having those conversations. They're awkward because people don't want to be seen to be, calling out certain things. But like Qatar is problematic for a bunch of reasons. Even if they have willingness to do everything they can on the pitch, there's still political considerations on that one. Private equity, there's no such thing as a clean billionaire. You don't really want a Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And when you're dealing with £3 billion plus, you're immediately filtering out 99% of viable assets or viable entities anyway. And so what's left, you then have to go through, well, how many of them have what you want, which is someone who cares about football, someone who has the right risk appetite, someone that isn't going to strip assets, someone that isn't going to think about the bottom line and the yield all the time, all that profit before glory. Like when you start filtering out everyone that doesn't fit those metrics, you're not left with many people. And I see people in the chat a minute ago saying, bring me Elon Musk. What? Like, forget about the politics of Elon Musk, but like, what gives you any, why does Elon Musk have, why is that guy the right fit? What does that, where's the logic there? What does he know about football? I don't know. Right. I'm just saying, let's have the conversation.
I hear it. Right now, we're what's it called? We're Rothschilds, isn't it? We're Rothschilds right now, isn't
it? They're negotiating. Apparently, they're trying to find the buyer, and have been for 9 months or a year or whatever, and haven't haven't come up with anything apart from Qatar. Are you guys all cool with Qatar, by the way? Just out of curiosity, are you guys all cool with that?
I am.
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of these guys.
Yeah.
I need to know more.
Yeah. There's the more you need to know, but most people are all right with. We've probably got investments coming in from nations anyway that are political in other businesses, and we don't really care. So
100%.
Yeah.
So
Ineos, right? The guy Sir Jim Ratcliffe owns them.
I know what you're going to say.
We got the sponsor on our bench, right? So that they sponsored us, but not Man United, which is hilarious. But
crazy.
Ineos are a chemical giant. So like, you know, I mean, say what you want, but like, if you look into Ineos, look into what they're doing in certain areas of the world. Like, I mean, they're like, if you're someone that likes to put your plastic bottles in the blue bin and the rest in the black bin or whatever, you know, like if that's the way you lean, if you're green is your friend, then you know Ineos is a problem. I'm just saying, like it is like
you're gonna have problems with anyone, aren't you? You're gonna have problems with anybody.
I think that was United's big thing about going with Sir Ratcliffe, because he lived across the road from the stadium. So everyone was like, he's going to look at, well, everything's going to be about round here. It's all going to be about local people. And then he went, 500 of you. See you later. Bye. So,
get on my nerves. Go away.
I can't park my car. I can't get my parking spot. So I've got to sack some people around here so I can get my parking spot back.
And that's like us getting someone who's a billionaire, who's leading it up, who's from North London, and would be sitting there going,
like Daniel Levy, you mean?
He's going to be care, and he's also going to take the next step.
Yeah. Listen, guys, I don't want. I mean, I know everyone who does. A lot of people don't listen to my channel. Don't listen. I criticize Daniel Levy almost as much as I defend him. It's just when I come on neutral channels, I know that most people feel a certain way. And so I'd like, in the interest of balance, I'll take the other side of the argument. That's what I like. I like to be a contrarian, but like ultimately, I'm happy for new owners.
Sean creates views.
Clickbait merchant. Hey, any final words?
Just go see his thumbnail from earlier. Had nothing to do with what he was actually. He was only talking about a small piece. Him and Johnny.
It was 30 seconds, but the thumbnail. Like, there's a quote there, right? You know, Richard Keys said. But he basically said, from what I've heard from a friend that's like doesn't know anything, the deal for Tottenham is done. But I don't think that's true. And also there's another team. And I was like, the deal from Tottenham is done. I'm just going to yoink that, stick that on the thumbnail.
Actually, we got to learn, man. Actually, we got to get in the game like that.
We're doing it wrong, man. We're doing it wrong. We're learning on the job.
And Sean's missing a trick. Bugsy's got to have their own channel. What's he doing trying to make other channels with other people? Just get Bugsy a channel.
I'm thinking about putting out an OnlyFans account. You know, the revenue on that bad boy is decent.
Then you could have Levy in and Levy out.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, boys. So let me read the super chats before we go. So we had 3. We got miracles do happen. I agree with Marlon. There's a first time for everything. Scott MB, keep up the good work, Ash. By the way, it's 3 times now. You owe me. Next one is actually for you, Sean. It's gone. Sean, was it 10 or 400 that went to these protests? I think you answered that earlier, so we know.
Yeah, we know. Yeah.
And then another one came in. Sean, from your reports, do you think Levy deserves the £5 million bonus if we get relegated? Has he generated enough non-football related money? I'm not adverse to us generating revenue by winning quarters.
Do I think that Daniel Levy deserves a £5 million bonus? I doubt he would get a £5 million bonus if we got relegated. You know, he's paid to, you know, he gets the bonuses because of metrics that are in his contract that are voted in by people. You know, I don't know what that's supposed to insinuate, but whatever. Yeah, no. Do I think he deserves it? No, I don't think I don't. If we get relegated, he doesn't deserve anything at all. He should be.
Do you think he deserves it now? Just by interest, do you think he deserves his bonus?
Look, I think that just for what it's for the case, do I think he deserves what he gets? I think he gets? He gets £3 million a year as a salary, which I think is a lot. And I think the rest of it's on performance related paid based on the metrics of what he gets, right? But just for what it's worth, if Tottenham are valued at 3 billion, for example, or 3.5 billion, then that, for argument's sake, would place Tottenham, if they were a listed company, on the FTSE 100. And the average remuneration, the average compensation of a FTSE 100 chairman or CEO is 7 million. No, sorry, is 10 million, right? So for creating a company that is valued at the same level on average as the other FTSE 100s, then he's underpaying himself by that metric, but he's overpaying himself by the industry standard. But I think that there is an argument for him to sit there and say, for what it's worth, the average FTSE 100 company has got 42,000 employees. Tottenham, I think, has got 700 or something, right? So on a kind of on a profitability scale, on a margin scale, and all those things, I think you can make the argument that he is worth what he gets paid. But I understand that when you're only looking at football on a comparative level, I think you can make the argument that he's overpaid. But it's not really a hill that I care about or I'm going to die on for sure. I'm not going to do it the Ange thing. No chance.
like Luke did tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just who I am. It's just who I am.
I like that.
Luke, let everyone know where they can find you on the whole social media. Let the people know, and thank you for coming on, by the way, and making your debut.
Yeah, big up, man. That's good.
Brilliant.
Cheers.
That was
Cheers
good.
for having me. So I've only just recently, I've been on Twitter a long time, but I've only just started voicing my opinions on Spurs and waiting for the hate to come my way. So just on Twitter, on X, Luke Samuels too.
Thank you.
I'll repost the channel as well.
Yeah, cheers, man. Will, always a pleasure. Let what you and Ben up to.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I've loved it. I've loved being in your boys' company as well. It's been really fun. But yeah, if you want to check out Darren doing, I mean, personally, I mean, Ben's still the show. I'm just the host, really. I mean, he's the football expert. I just love Spurs, so I don't have like a.
You're the better one. You're the better one. Don't worry.
I don't have any like social medias where you're gonna find loads of like Spurs content, just like my opinion. So just follow Darren doing on YouTube. Hit 1,000 subs. The other
Nice.
week,
Well done, man.
I was really happy with that. Thank you. But yeah, so yeah, get involved and check. I think we uploaded a video today, like a podcast. It's just a weekly podcast, basically. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. Shorty, what you got going on?
Well, first and foremost, guys, just really appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed it. I said to Ash earlier, I only had an hour in me, but it's been really fun. Sorry if I. Sorry if I.
Every time we get him.
An hour. Yeah, I've only got an hour. 2 hours later.
I was cool. Yeah, I was fine.
I got to be up at 5:30, but I don't care, man, because I really enjoyed it. But I do apologise if like I always seem to be talking too much on these shows, so I do apologise. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, Spurs Talk Show is where you can find me. Also, Football Inc. for what it's worth. If anyone prefers Johnny to me, then me and Johnny have got a double act thing on Football Inc. And if you do enjoy football content, football finance content, then you can find me on Sean Butler TV as well. But yeah, as far as Spurs Talk Show, I'll probably just find whatever random story is out there tomorrow and turn it into a 20-minute monologue and big it up with clickbait and absolutely outrageous assumptions that don't ever come true. But that's what we do, right? So appreciate you having me, boys. Loved every minute of it. And it's great to meet Will and Luke as well. Great to meet you guys.
Love to meet you, boys.
Ash, what's going on?
Boy, you know what? Obviously, we missed out on a signing from Feyenoord. He went to AC Milan. Club tried to go for him last minute in Gimenez. And Hyun-Min Yuk as well. He's doing bits, obviously, at QPR.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
So, before you say that, everybody, I've got a QPR who's going to give us a rundown every week of what's going on with Yang. Why is it QPR? Just watch it because he's a season ticket holder. He goes to the games. He's a podcaster. Just watch what he's been saying for the last couple of games where he's been on, and hopefully every week we'll get an update on how he's getting on. Carry on, Ash. I forgot all about that.
Real quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, listen, we do have a show later on today, and it's the rivals, and I've got Nottingham Forest fans talking that smoke, thinking they're bigger than Spurs. We're having that debate at the moment. Newcastle fans, they're thinking they're bigger than Spurs as well. Yeah, guys, it's getting to that time, man. It's getting these minnows. They're catching up with us, and they think they've got chest for us. So yeah, but also I've got a Chelsea fan. Obviously, they're in a bit of a situation, and we'll be talking about that as well. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because Liverpool are playing tomorrow as well, so we'll be discussing what happens with them, and obviously our up-and-coming games. We'll be previewing it as well in our rival show. But yeah, man, make sure you guys do like this show so more Spurs fans can see it, because we did bring up a lot of topics today, and I think it was worth listening to. But yeah, man, big up the panel and the chat as well. The chat's been crazy today. Respect.
Big up to everyone. As you know, we'll be back next week. Same time, same place. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Big up the protests. Time for change.
See you later.